Nope.
Yeah.
That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
The rings. They're showing the rings.
Oh, the ring ceremony is coming to town. Yeah, I've got. I don't even know. I like in the interim. My computer just crashed for all those anybody who's watching. Um, it, it was fun and exciting for those watching. I was about to build a FanDuel
Oh,
lineup.
Tyrone Lue. There you go. I'm wearing your shirt for you tonight, bud.
Are you? Wait, did he just get his ring, or because I must be a few seconds behind because I'm at the.
I got Tyrone tonight. He on the shirt. He chilling.
Oh, that's the answer.
That little guy that actually looks identical to him in real life.
Yes. What was the nickname they gave him? The answering machine.
Who?
Tyrone Lue.
Lue?
What was? Don't you remember?
Because they used him basically as a scout team Iverson.
Oh, my dog is like literally hanging out front of the door, just crying.
My cat is actually. It's actually being good for once, so I'm just gonna leave it there and not touch it.
Russell, I'll let him in here. Okay, I'm gonna go let him in. Everybody's watching, so you talk. I'm gonna go let Russell in and let him bark and cry. It'll be fun. Hold on, you talk.
I'm honestly just watching the ring ceremony, probably like everyone else at home who's not yet watching the World Series. Unfortunately, I wish I could put the volume on and hear it.
Yeah, I'm doing this for a minute. Yeah, I opened the door. The dog, he doesn't want to come. I have a English bulldog named Russell. For those who follow me on Twitter, I'm sure that you would have seen pictures of him because it's my favorite thing to do is to put pictures of my dog because he's way better looking than me. So there's that. See, now I screwed up my.
I mean, I won't take us on a tangent. But, in the dog world and the human world, you might be better looking compared to other humans than he is compared to most dogs.
Oh God, you're crazy. I guess to each his own.
I mean, I have the same dog lives next door to me at the condo, so.
I mean, I just
they're an ugly, cute dog.
I mean, I guess my dad feels the same way. He's like, it's so ugly, he's cute. I'm like, if you say so, I think he's the cutest thing in the world. He might be the devil. He might be the devil because he's like, he has my kryptonite. That dog, like, whatever he wants, he gets. He wants. He just in the morning, he just curls up on my chest, goes to sleep, snores. And he just every day he gets what he wants. Dog had the other day 4 hamburgers, a steak, and 4 jelly beans. So
I've watched that block a billion times.
What's
Sorry,
that?
I'm distracted. There's basketball in front of my face when I look up, so I just can't do that anymore.
It's not actual basketball, though.
No, so, but this year's finals will be the most memorable finals for me in the last decade. I mean, I watched each game in a primarily Golden State fan section, so to speak, at the bar, and I was gunning for Cleveland the whole way, and it was a lot of fun. But individual memories of games and events in the games that weren't for a team that you normally cheer for, it doesn't usually stick like it did this last year.
I mean, I'm known as a LeBron hater. I mean, I'm definitely, but I mean, he just won me over. I mean, that series
the first rap ever by username @Versatile, I believe I ripped on LeBron. That was prior to any ring. So I was not a fan of. I mean, how you can't come around on the guy by now? That's the sign of a true curmudgeon to me. Like this. And there's Jordan McRae getting his ring. Way to go, fucking Sam Hinkie. Let's send him to Australia. Come back. We still don't have a fucking shooting guard and let him go. God damn it! What an idiot. Sorry.
He's available, but he's available for a second rounder. Oh, wait a minute. You're gonna have to talk again. The dog is crying. Hold on. He needs me. Baby.
You want me to mouth over the? I mean, there you go. Iman Shumpert's hair doesn't look as tight tonight. More wobbly than usual. I'm actually excited for Iman Shumpert. See what he does this season. I mean, they don't have a backup point guard to start the season, so I think Shumpert will get some. I'm sorry, I'm just talking to myself. I think Shumpert will get some minutes at the 1 and the 2, which could get him up to 25 to 27 a game early. I don't. Who they draft? Felder at the second round. I don't think he's. I know he's not active.
Get that out of my ass!
Don't think he's ready to play.
I got rid of my dog.
Absolutely, the one team in the NBA that did, unless you consider Mozgov the Tristan a change in starter, I didn't change the coach. It's very consistent. It's just Deladova, and they brought in Mike Dunleavy and Birdman for Mozgov. So.
Dink tweeted me. He must have been watching for a minute, which is he understood that he needed some comic relief before the Cubs game, and he said the Pacers unders. I mean, I'm not. I just think there's value.
Yeah. What did he say? Pacers under their win total?
I don't know whether he meant under the win total or he didn't want him at 100-1. He thought that was a crazy. He thought that wasn't a good bet.
Is a little. I think it's 43.5. So it is right around where they finished last season. I just don't see how you think this team's better than last year.
Oh my God. How do I bet on that? Somebody, because Paul George is.
I have it all written out on the document I did that I pinned. So let me just find the Central Division one.
I mean, Paul George he's a superstar.
44.5 is the Vegas line. Sorry.
And people just don't understand. People who don't watch. Here's what I want to talk about basketball. People who don't watch Thaddeus Young play have no idea who he is.
Oh my God! I said Thaddeus Young's the most in the write-up I did. Thaddeus Young's the most important addition to this team.
Well, yes, if you watch him play, he's for a team that doesn't need him to score 25 points a game.
Look at it. The signing of Thaddeus Young, you had Jordan Hill and Lavoy Allen, both two players who shouldn't really be playing for good teams in the NBA, even on second units. They combined for 41 minutes a game. They're pedestrian. The energy and that transition speed that Thaddeus provides are going to be huge improvements. And then he's also the third or fourth option. That's crazy.
And I think they have when you look at their starting five, they have a legitimate
Ellis, George, Thad, and Miles Turner, right? And Al Jefferson's the sixth man.
Yeah.
How are second units going to stop Al Jefferson?
They didn't. If you again preseason, blah blah blah. No, yeah, they couldn't touch him in the preseason. So, yeah,
and that's who their guards. It's Rodney Stuckey. I think they got Aaron Brooks. And CJ Miles, so that second unit can pop and can score down low. That second unit's better than our first unit.
Yes,
in Philadelphia.
I mean, again, if they were in the Western Conference, you could talk me
when they play Atlanta. If you want to look for a juxtaposition, look at the thinness of Atlanta's bench, and then look at a team like Indiana when they play, and how that's going to go.
I don't know how Atlanta went as far as they did last year. I really don't. I don't.
I'll take Atlanta them. And their Vegas line is 43.5 this year, and they won 48 games last year, so it's dropped 4.5, which is one of the biggest drops. But I'd still take the under, man. This is a team that you didn't replace Jeff Teague. You traded him for Taurean Prince, which is just another forward that's going to need to be brought up. Schroeder's competent enough to play the point guard position, but Dwight Howard makes teams worse. I mean, unless he's the point of your team, I don't think he's going to help your team win.
I don't get again Millsap.
Malcolm Delaney, that's probably the most exciting preseason, make of a team.
I mean,
they cut Jarrett Jack, right? What was the point? I mean,
yeah. Well, he had bad knees, so I mean they cut him.
As much as I'm excited to watch Delaney lead the second unit, that second unit's going to be Delaney, Tim Hardaway, Mike Scott, Tiago Splitter, and Thabo. Like, really?
Yeah. And Muscala or whatever his name is. I don't even know. I always want to call him Marsala.
Could overcome Thabo for that backup small forward role, but still, I mean, that's shit. So, hey, I wrote it about Chicago, and I wrote it about Indiana. The experts, including Mr. Dinkmeyer, and they have different.
Again, I can't sport. If I could sports bet right now, I would put all the money I lost on. I would put a sizable chunk on the over for Indiana. That's a great bet.
That was my fourth favorite over-under. I still like the Bulls. I love the fucking Bulls over-under.
What is it? If it's more than 30, I don't like that team. I do not.
No one likes that team. And I think that all the sharps, specifically the guys who really are good at evaluating NBA stuff, I don't believe there's a good enough way to project for this team as of now. I mean, you had 538 just do a random projection, which wasn't, I looked at it wasn't really to scale, so to speak, and they had them winning 45 games this year on name recognition, probably. But
I think that's
the most interesting team in basketball. this year because they could win 30 games and they could win 50 games.
I just don't know what Dwayne Wade has gotten in the tank. I mean, that's it. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. Is if you took that team without Dwayne Wade, are they a 45-win team?
No, because then Isaiah Cannon's gonna fucking play.
Well, but that's MCW. They'll put. The team has MCW and Rajon Rondo. I mean,
and Isaiah Cannon.
I mean
that include inside.
That is a turnover factory.
They will also. They might lead the league in turnovers. Will they lead the league in steals too? Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, do they have the shooting to match that shit?
No. The entire team is going to. I mean, a lot of it is they're. Is McDermott ever going to live up to being a shooter? Is Miracek ever going to live? I mean, they have two guys in the roster who that's their role, to stretch the floor. They haven't done it successfully.
Well, that's again, you like that line. I hate, like, if you had to bet on a series tomorrow, Indiana versus Chicago, who are you taking?
Indiana, but that's a 44.5 line and a 38.5 line.
I think that, well, again,
I like honestly, I like Indiana to go far because I think that their depth is just gonna come into play so often this season. Maybe injuries can always derail everything, but Indiana, I picked them to finish third, I think.
Paul George is the blank best player in the East.
Oh, sorry, that's a question. Is the blank best player in the East? I mean, second.
Yeah, I mean, that's my answer. I mean, the only other contenders are really Kyrie, Love.
No,
no.
Because also I try to do like positional strength to some extent. And like, obviously, three of the most talented offensive players are small forwards, but it's not like we have 30 teams with quality small forwards the way point guards are a dime a dozen.
Who's the third that I'm forgetting in the Eastern Conference as a good? Are you talking about Carmelo? Please don't tell me you're talking about Carmelo.
What?
No, I think you said three really good small forwards. Or did I just miss?
Oh, no, in the league, not in the conference.
Oh, okay. I thought, but you're not including
your five best
Durant.
players.
But who are the three?
Durant, LeBron, and Paul George. That foursome is better than any other positions foursome. But what the point I was actually trying to make is that it's not a deep position. It's not like those, the way point guard is, where you say, what's an average point guard in the league? And you get to the 15th point guard, and you're looking at guys that have made it to all-star games.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's fair. But that's kind of my point. Is like they can fill out the rest of the roster. I don't think that they're that old. I think they have Indiana. I don't think
they're not.
I don't think they're. No, well, I don't know how old are Teague and Ellis. They're not. They're in their.
They're not young, but they're not. It's like that, huh?
They're in their
31, right? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not sure.
28. I have so much database stuff up on my computer. Monte Ellis is 30, so I got it right.
There you go.
No, I don't think they're that old. I think they're all veterans. I mean, obviously, Drew's never going to like a team that Monte Ellis is playing for.
I get that, but like,
I don't know how he's going to try to how he can ruin anything with that team. Almost, I mean,
I believe that Monte.
Keep in mind, this is you have Nate McMillan coming in his first season with the Pacers.
That's true, and I
to see stuff would be important. But this is a guy who's coached 13 years in the league, Supersonics, and then Portland. He just took a couple years off, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I like Vogel as a coach, so I mean, I think that.
Oh, it's definitely. I mean,
I think
definitely
Orlando
down on that card. Orlando Orlando will be good.
I mean, I still don't understand that Oladipo trade. I really don't. I don't. I mean, I like Oladipo, but I guess that's why, is that I like him and they didn't.
I mean, it was a league orchestrated to save OKC from only winning 25 games this year. Like, don't know why they would do that.
Yeah. I mean, especially given their roster makeup, there's no point to that trade. Your best piece you got was Ibaka, and you just don't need them. And you don't. I mean, yeah, I guess they like. who's that guy that why can't
What team are you
I
talking?
can't Herzonia Orlando.
Yes,
The
Herzonia.
yeah, I guess they like him more than and they wanted to run. I guess I guess I don't know. It's just I really don't know.
I don't know what more they wanted out of Oladipo.
Yeah, and I don't know what the hell they're expecting on Alfred Payton, but we'll see. We'll see.
What do you mean?
So talk me through tonight's games. Of the 3 games tonight, the one you're most excited to see is Portland, Utah.
Oh, without a doubt, Portland, Utah. Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Hayward's out. I'm not sure what's going on with Favors, but no, I mean that should be exciting simply from the point that Portland takes the ball to the hole so often, and Utah blocks shots at the rim so often. I mean that's also fantasy goodness in the form of block shots and whatnot. You got extreme pace differentials with a really fast playing team, a really slow playing team. But also, in a weird way, I'm excited to watch Evan Turner lead that second unit for Portland. Maurice Harkless, I haven't looked at anything, but pretty sure was declared the starter early in the season. But Turner should still get his 25 to 28 minutes with that second unit. So I'm just really excited to watch that game. Utah in general. I mean, Utah is the team that has the biggest jump, I believe, in expected wins or Vegas win total of any team in the league. I think it's like 49.5, maybe.
To me, that's almost all George Hill. Like I guess
all George Hill, but
I mean, to me, I know I'm a lunatic. Like I really like again, and he was on Utah, and I'm talking about how great Utah is, and still trying to extol the benefit of George Hill. But I think that Utah isn't that wonderful. I think that Utah is. I'm more interested in what the Blazers can do. I think the Blazers, if healthy, are a dangerous team. They are a dangerous team in the West. They can shoot from every position. They're deep as fuck. And Damian Lillard.
I'm taking the under on them, and theirs isn't even that high. You definitely take the over.
What is it? 43?
45, 44.5.
It's kind of like binary for me with them.
45.
It's binary with them for me because I think if they get it, they could win 55 games. But if they don't get it, they don't gel, they could win. I don't think if they miss that number, it's going to be by a lot.
It's a bench for me to be confident. I mean, yes, last season they won 44 games. It was the single biggest up from their line. I think the line last year was 26 or 27 projected wins. So they crushed it. And now the line's 45 and a half. Look, I guess the shooting, I just, in a league that doesn't have that many good shooters because they can shoot, like you said, so well, it's a big hype point, but I don't like their bench. I don't.
I kind of like their bench.
They obviously have the best backcourt in the league.
Well, I honestly don't even know who the hell is the backup point guard right now.
Huh?
Who's the backup point guard for Portland? I don't even know because he'll run. Yeah,
Shabazz. I mean, honestly, the backup point guard is C.J. McCollum, and Allen Crabbe will come in and play shooting guard. McCollum will play point.
You can actually have ET handle the ball too. That's a different story. But that's this is the reason why. Like, if you coach up this team, the talent is there to give people fits. Will they come every?
But what about the front court?
You don't need what the fuck you do. I believe
matchups. I mean, if you're rolling out Mason Plumlee
and Myers Leonard is healthy again. I mean, he's a big stiff who the hell do they have to worry about? Who are they going to have to worry about in the front court that they can't cover other than the Spurs? The Spurs will eat them alive. Outside of that, I like DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin.
At times I feel like Aminu will cover the 3 instead of the 4 because he is a pretty decent lockdown defender. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I mean, Vonleh still, hasn't turned into anything, so we'll see. But
he played all right again in preseason. He's not a start. But my point is that the talent level is there, just like with Indiana. Those are the 2 bets that I would have made. I wanted to bet them for the championship because clearly I'm fading the two big, like we talked about. I'm fading the two big teams. I'm fading Cleveland and Golden State because I just believe that you don't know that much about what's going to happen in the NBA season. To be these favorite, to be these.
I guess
I
wouldn't fade Cleveland, so to speak, but if Golden State's really minus 130, I'd take an even line on the field.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Can you make an even bet on the field or no?
I think that it is. I think it has to be.
I mean, minus 130. I mean, you can even make it minus 110, but it's not usually minus 40 combined. It's usually minus 30.
No, but they'll probably give you even money, because on bets like that they take a bigger vig. So yeah, it probably could get even money on.
That's probably the single best bet you can make all season. You just watch 4 series and hate on a team, and if they lose at any point, you win your money.
And you can leverage too in certain spots. I mean, it's so much easier to leverage. I mean, it's just out west.
Portland's going to fall. I don't know what. I think they're not going to repeat the way they did last season. I think they'll
Portland
around 500, maybe a game up.
I mean, it depends on the competition, really. I mean, because Minnesota got better. You're saying Utah got better.
Those two teams are probably the biggest improvements, right? Utah and
those are two front courts actually they would have trouble with.
Both of them, yeah.
Yes, now that I think about it, yeah. But I think that Utah for me is like without Hayward, they're not. I just don't know if they have enough offense to beat people. I mean, I know that they can play defense, and I don't. I think having 2 point guards in Minnesota, or they have like no point guards in Minnesota right now. They're gonna have to make a decision.
What?
It's too good of a team. I don't think they want Rubio. I think they're holding on to Rubio because they want to be sure Dunn can play.
What are you talking about?
Right, but that's my point. Is right now he's not ready, so I don't know. Like I love that team. Obviously, that everybody loves that team. Minnesota is an amazing team, but I think they need to make that decision at the point guard. They need to. I think that this year is not going to be as good for them because they're not ready to transition to Chris Dunn, and I don't think Rubio is the captain of that ship.
That's interesting.
I mean, I think Rubio could be a Sixer. I think that there's a. I'm not saying I want him. I'm not saying. I just think that they could take the contract. You could do whatever. Oh my God, the contests have started. The national anthem.
You know who's still available? It's opening night. The first game is starting, and Josh Smith still doesn't have a team.
I'll take him. We're $15 million under the.
My favorite player in NBA history to rip on and love at the same time.
Do you know? Okay, so we're going to talk about because I don't know. Again, I think my mom and your mom are watching.
No,
that's about it. I mean, that was what I meant. But it's being
Utah
funny.
49. 49 is the Utah line. Minnesota's is only 40.
Oh God, I wish I could was able to sports bet also parlay these things. Like, could I parlay?
40.5 is one. It was my biggest bet. I think that was before that was bigger than Chicago. And where was the other one? I think I'm going to take the
LeBron. Under. LeBron's doing the moonwalk during the national anthem. I don't know what kind of.
Oh, did anyone fist pump or sit or any of that fun stuff that we can waste time talking about?
No. Not that. I mean, I
sit for the national anthem, and you can be called a dickhead. Those are both rights of Americans. No one should not do what they want.
I think we talked about last time we did a show, which is that's the whole point of America, to have free speech. Oh, I can't believe basketball is here. So, okay, of all the point guards that got cut, Archie Goodwin should be a Sixer tomorrow, right? I mean, right? He would be the second best guard on the team. No, third. If they signed him tomorrow. So, I mean, I don't I'm for signing, you know me. I'm for signing every point guard in the world because we have the money and we have nothing there.
Been a revolving. I mean, is there any team? Yeah, there's a couple teams. I was gonna think, who do you think is the other than the Bucks? The Bucks started. Keep in mind, they started 4 different point guards last year, right?
Yeah, I would have taken MCW back for what you could have gotten him for.
At this point, yeah, you could be like, hey, I got a first round pick, and then I gave up,
Yeah, and hey, we have jerseys already with his name on the back.
Oh my God, that'd be wonderful. But no, I mean, they had They had MCW. Who else did they have? Tyler Ennis, Grievous Vasquez, and Jared Bayless, who's not really a point guard, but we decided to pretend is our point guard now. So they got that revolving door is so bad. Then they add Dellavedova this year. And that's a team that, people need to understand that Giannis is going to be running the offense. I'm not sure how sites are going to be listing him. That's a team that is so versatile. A couple players can play multiple positions, that it's going to be very important, especially with, DFS and multi-position eligibility, to understand that.
I think the Sixers were planning on running Simmons just like Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis can play what, 1 through 3, 1 through 4.
That team that you named before,
Jabari can play 2 through 4.
If you gave me Paul George, Kawhi, LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Giannis.
Giannis is your fifth best small forward in the league?
No. I'm talking about, let's have a starting 5 of those guys, and let's just have a small forward league. We will play everybody. Is there any team, even if you compare their own teams, they could beat Golden State? They could beat.
Let's keep in mind. I mean, as a short person, I hate to admit this, but if you're a point forward versus a point guard, the advantage is always to the point forward. If all else remains the same, you're bigger. It's an advantage.
Right. Well, you have to be faster and go around. And if you think you're going to go around,
but I think on that team, because Giannis can play 1 through 4, because I think Jabari is going to start the season at power forward. But it all depends on if Tony Snell is going to be healthy enough to play the 3. But Jabari can play shooting guard, small forward, and point. And their second-round pick, Malcolm Brogdon, is going to have to play probably a bit more early than have to. And he plays forward and guard. So that team's going to be a mess keeping track of. You also have, Greg Monroe and John Henson are starting the season on the bench, as well as Michael Beasley and Mirza.
Well,
so you've got a really big bench of bigs. I mean, Greg Monroe, they're going to try to unload. And then you have Thon Maker. I didn't even get into Thon Maker. I mean,
no, well, but my question was, which guard are you going to sign if you're the Sixers? I mean, they have to sign one because Bayless is hurt and they don't know when he's coming back. And he doesn't even necessarily have the same role with Simmons out, because they kind of took a 2 guard that they could play a point because they figured they'd have a point forward. So they need another, kind of guard. I mean, TJ McConnell doesn't belong in the NBA. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. He may coach a team one day because that's exactly what he looks like. You can take that for whatever it's worth.
By the way, guys, if you're listening at home,
yes, exactly. White. Yes. Well, that's
no. Ironically, I would have never said Jason Kidd looks like he should be coaching.
This is true. And and you know what? He probably shouldn't be coaching. Yeah, that hasn't. I was going to say, he is developing talent and destroying the team all at the same time out in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, that's not 100. I mean, that was 2 years ago. The Milwaukee Bucks. When you looked at the Sixers, you looked at the Bucks. You said, "The hell." This, they didn't have to tank, and they were able to do this. And yeah, it helped that they got 2 first. Overall, won the lottery better than we did at the time. But no, I mean, the Larry Sanders thing hurts. Chris Middleton getting hurt a month ago for the year hurts.
Yeah, but Giannis is a better.
The biggest fault, I don't know how you win, 15 less games than the line because of the point guard position. You cycled 4 of them, and you have a coach who's one of the previous best point guards in the league. His inability to transition his coaching of the position that he mastered is so evident. I mean, that's the position that's costing the team any chance.
And also to evaluate the talent. You know what I mean? Because they got rid of Brandon. Didn't they? No, that was in the trade. The Brandon Marshall, not Brandon. What the hell? Who's the guy? Why can't I think of the guy on Phoenix? The who's the backup point guard on Phoenix? Bledsoe, Booker, and who's the third guy? Brevin Knight.
I'm sorry.
Phoenix. Who's their backup?
Yeah, point guard's Brandon Knight. Brandon Knight's not starting. He's going to be their backup point guard. You're talking about Ulis, though.
No. I'm saying no. What I was saying is that Milwaukee could have had him, or did they have him? Or
him.
He was in. Right. That's my point. They got rid of him.
Yeah, but he's not good. I mean, do you think Brandon Knight's good?
He's better than what they have. I mean, I would rather have him on my team than what the fuck they have right there right now. I mean, he could hit an open jumper. He can play. He's a passable point guard. You'd rather have Dellavedova over him?
Actually, I mean, I don't know I mean, no, obviously I wouldn't. But would I rather have, him for 23 million or Dellavedova for 10 and build elsewhere? Probably that.
I don't think their cap space is the issue. I don't think cap space for anybody is the issue right now. So it's Cleveland. That's it. That's the only team that it actually matters for. I mean, I think the Clippers are around it, but it's.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not a huge Brandon Knight fan. I mean, he's not a true point guard at all.
But again, I think that who the hell did they get back? Wasn't that the trade that netted them MCW or something? What was what was that trade? What did they get back there?
Oh, that was in the Tony Snell, Michael Carter Williams.
No. I'm talking about how did MCW end up on the Bucks?
Because I think you've just described it.
Yeah, I thought it was a 3-team trade, right?
Yes,
yeah, it was
Suns, the Bucks, and the Sixers. The Suns got Kendall Marshall, who was waived, and Tyler Ennis and Miles Plumlee to the Bucks. It came over for MCW.
Right. Well, that's kind of my point. Was that they gave up Brandon Knight for
and the
MCW.
Got Plumlee, MCW, and Tyler Ennis. So yeah, it didn't work out, but that 3-for-1 is still not horrible.
I don't know. I
agree. I agree that Tyler Ennis and MCW, we could have said at the time, they're not going to be able to replace Brandon Knight. But as it stands, they now have a starting center out of it because Larry Sanders decided to do what he did. So it's.
Well, I mean, how is Greg? But you signed Greg Monroe again. This was about how you're just
looking to get rid of Greg Monroe. That was the biggest mistake they made in their.
That was my.
Henson's a guy you can develop. Greg Monroe was just Detroit immediately improved just by getting rid of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even explain Greg Monroe because he's like a fantasy guy, but not a.
He's a video game guy. Yeah, he's not actually a plus for your team for almost any team in the starting unit. Now, I think it'll be interesting because he's going to be coming off the bench at least to start the season. How he does in that role. I mean, he could do significantly better. Guys that are forced to play against other teams' starters for their entirety of their career, when they go into that bench role at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely a guy who can provide instant offense.
Yes, he's talented in the offensive end. He's so bad on the defensive end.
Yeah, so I guess that's what he is. He's a backup.
Yeah, but I mean, think about that skill set describes Al Jefferson, right? How much better is Al Jefferson?
Than Greg Monroe.
Greg Monroe is in his. I believe what Al Jefferson is doing now at the end of his career is what Greg Jefferson's doing Greg Monroe is doing in his prime.
I agree. I don't know. Al Jefferson's knees are. I've got like 9 things going. I've got the game in front of me, which I can't do. Is like the same thing you just said. I'm watching Derrick Rose for 3. That's about what Derrick Rose does from 3.
Yeah, but how about this for the Bucks? You forgot that they traded Brandon Jennings. And that's what got them Brandon Knight and Chris Middleton. So that's probably the best trade they've ever made.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's what hurts the Bucks this year. I mean, Chris Middleton was such a focal point of the offense, and a month ago for him to be out for. I mean, I don't know if it's the year, but when you go out in September for 6 months, it is the year. So we shall see. But that really hurts the team, and it's why I'm so focused on watching the Bucks starting lineups each night. It's not dry, no finish for Rose there. Why I'm so interested to watch the Bucks.
I guess from a fantasy
for DFS purposes, because you're going to have completely unique lineups. You're going to have sites where you're going to be able to play, on one site, someone will be a shooting guard, a small forward. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how quickly FanDuel is able to keep up specifically because DraftKings is just going to go to the multi-position and leave it. But how quickly FanDuel is going to keep up with the Bucks and how they're going to have them positionally set up because they just have 3 guys that from day one might play 3 to 4 positions. Yeah, and then they have a 5-man rotation in the front court of just front court guys, none of whom are that good, but all of whom are NBA talent. So that should be fun too.
For DFS purposes, I'm going to play a lot of Jabari, not night in, night out, but they have to score from somewhere else. And he's finally healthy and he can score and he can They can probably get him in mismatches. So I think he's the type of guy that is going to throw up one of those huge nights in DFS and win some tournaments for people. So I think you want to be mixing in a lot of Jabari. I mean,
and I think that early season, if depending on if Jabari, if he's starting at the 4, does that change that changes things for me a little bit.
It does, but I think that just because he started at the 4 doesn't mean that you don't dictate matchups going the other way.
I think that I don't like Tony Snell apparently as much as the average NBA GM, but
I don't like Tony Snell
the other guy, just keep a eye on Malcolm Brogdon. He's their second round pick as shooting guard because they have such little guard depth, and he can play small forward that I expect him to actually make more of an impact than Thon Maker, their first round pick, early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, because they're thin at guard, so they kind of they have no choice. But the original question was
also backed up a lot because they've got they signed Mirza, they signed Michael Beasley, they already have Monroe and Henson, and that's not even the starters. The starters are Plumlee and Jabari, so Thon's going to have a bit of a road.
I don't. My original question was of the available guards, who are you signing if you're the Sixers?
I don't know who all the available guards are because I had.
I mean, Prigioni got cut today. Jordan Farmer. I mean, neither of those. Archie Goodwin, Jared Jack. Those are basically the guys. That's why I'm taking Archie Goodwin because he's young, and I've seen him actually fill the basket up. He's pretty terrible, but like possibly coachable, and sign him and cut him. I don't care. What are you doing? And I really like the Sixers offseason. I mean, not as much as I could have because I think I can see your face.
I don't know what you mean by I like the Sixers. What? Because all the players that were supposed to play earlier are now playing? Like, what did they do in the offseason that you liked?
I liked Henderson. I liked Bayless. I liked Sergio Rodriguez. So I like those 3 guys. I would have liked.
And I have to agree with you 100%. I think what made me like them a lot more in the context and their ability to play the game or the position is how crazy people were going with salaries that first 2 weeks of free agency, and how we got basically the only 3 guys for less than $10 million a year that you could have gotten this offseason, and they're not the worst 3 guys.
I still think they should have gotten Brandon Jennings. I still do. I mean, I think they should have gotten Brandon Jennings because there's upside to him and the contract is meaningless. So you could have signed him for 2 years.
All contracts are meaningless to the Sixers that are all 1 and 2 year contracts.
Right, exactly. So you could have signed him 2 years for free, and he was a tradable asset. If he didn't work, I'm not. No. What I mean by that is that you could have gotten a second rounder back for him. Like you actually could. There's going to be a team that would want him halfway through the season if he doesn't work out. I'm not. They could have cut him, and it never would have made a difference. But it doesn't matter. They're signing Kyle Lowry in the offseason, and that's unfortunately what's going to happen. I mean, that's just.
You told me you actually, you looked over the Atlantic Division type thing. Give me your thoughts on our division, because I know a lot of people were talking to me when I was down in Nashville, and I talk basketball with everyone I meet all the time. So excited, Boston's going to be that second seed in the East. They're going to be great. Do you buy that?
No. I mean, I just don't. Brad Stevens can't be that good of a coach. That's basically what it comes down to. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, last year he was a magician, and I'm just not quite sure he can be a magician every year. And that's my thought, which is I think they're a good team. I think that, when we talked at the end of last season, I think they would have given Cleveland a hell of a run. And right, they didn't play Cleveland, right? Who did they lose to? Who the hell did they lose to last year? They lost their first round matchup, didn't they? To Atlanta or something? I don't remember who it was. I like the Celtics. I think they easily could be the 2, but I don't think they're the apparent 2. I think if you put Brad Stevens in Indiana, they're the same team, or a better team. I think Al Horford is a great player. I think he was a great addition. I don't know. I mean, you think that they're the heir apparents to second place?
Yeah. And again, in our conference, you have the 1 seed playing right now on our televisions, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 are almost all the same.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I mean, Toronto, Indiana, Boston.
Honestly,
the bigger
2 through 7 is at most the difference is 3 home games. That's it. That's, I mean, in the playoffs. So, like, not even just are they homogenized there, but even obviously there's value to home games, but it's not that big that.
Yeah, I mean, I think their Vegas line was like 52.5. I'm taking the under on that all fucking day. They won 48 last year. I get that they added Horford, but the 48, I mean, it's over. Like you said, is overperforming anyway. I think they're a good team. I think I picked them to finish 4th. Again, whoever wins the division is a top 3 seed. So conceivably, if Indiana slips in there, them or Toronto would be the 3, because one of them is going to win our division. I would bet my life on that. The Knicks aren't winning it.
I can't see the Knicks remaining healthy. I mean, to me, you've got to get a healthy.
To me, Jaylen Brown's the wild card there.
Yeah, but I don't like to think about anybody that was drafted behind Simmons being good, or anybody we could have tried to trade for.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. What'll be interesting there is you have a rotation with IT, Avery, Jay Crowder, Amir Johnson, and Horford, and then you have a decent bench. I mean, Marcus Smart is hurt to start the season, but he was improving. I believe they added Gerald Green, which isn't.
Well, he's offense. I mean, he can come off the bench.
Well, that's what I mean. There's your instant offense to juxtapose with Avery Bradley at the same position. Jaylen Brown is your replacement for Evan Turner, basically.
To me, they are more about the other teams than themselves, which is, barring injury, they're clearly in the mix. But Atlanta is much worse, I think, in my opinion.
Well, Atlanta and Charlotte got worse this year.
Yes.
Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte, I think, wasn't that healthy last year. And so I'm not quite sure what that team is. And I think they might have fed a lot off of bad Eastern Conference teams or getting people at the right time. I mean, I love Nick Batum, so it's so hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, remains to be seen how Roy Hibbert coming in for Al Jefferson will do, and how long he'll hold that job.
He can't. Roy Hibbert can't play in this league anymore. I mean,
no. So I mean, that's the question mark for me. Is you don't have. I mean, you have Kid Gilchrist is healthy to start the season. You've added Hibbert. You've added backup point guards and backup guards, but you haven't really changed much except for Al Jefferson for Hibbert.
It's just I think that Kemba Walker but Kid Gilchrist was hurt all last year, right? For a lot of last.
That's the big point.
Yeah.
And you're replacing Jeremy Lin and Courtney Lee with a combination of Bellinelli, Sessions, and Roberts, which is a little worse. I'll give you that. Lin and Lee are better than Bellinelli, Sessions, and Roberts. But I think that Jefferson was better than Hibbert. So to me, they're almost the same team, but I think that, like you said, they overperformed a bit last year. I mean, they 32 or 33 projected wins.
But a lot of these win totals are about how good the other player is going to be. Like I had the other teams. Like Toronto is, I think Toronto overperformed last year. Like they're a very good. No, you don't think so?
I think Toronto and Boston were inflated because you get the extra games against your division, and the 3 worst teams in the conference were basically all in our division. Sixers, Brooklyn, and the Knicks, like those teams got to play extra games against us, those 2 teams, Boston and Toronto. So I think that inflated them.
I can almost argue that all 3 teams are better this year. I mean, there's only one team you have to argue about is that the Sixers, Brooklyn, and that
the Knicks, that all 3 of those teams are better.
Yeah, I think they.
I don't think Brooklyn's better.
They were so.
I think they were worse than basketball last year, regardless of record. I think they were worse than the Sixers.
Right, they were. They were. I got to watch them play the Heat towards the end of the season, and
they're horrible, and they didn't improve.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, who was the starting point guard last year?
At the very beginning of the season,
for most of the season.
Jared Jack at times, right?
Right, but he was hurt most of the season. I forget who backed him up. See, we don't know as much about the NBA as we claim we do. My point there is that I think Jeremy Lin is actually, he's one of those guys, when you give him the ball, all night, every night, and he doesn't have a lot of a ton of options, he'll put up some nice numbers, and I think he'll perform better than some of the guys they had last year running in the backcourt. So
Donald Sloan came in. Yeah, that's who played.
Yeah. I'm not. I think Lynn is an upgrade off of both of those guys. So they lost Thaddeus. I mean, Thaddeus was by far the best player on that team. I don't care what you want to say about Brook Lopez. He's
a joke in this league.
He's a young.
Whatever numbers he wants, he doesn't help you be better.
Yeah, he's a young Roy Hibbert.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's the dumbest thing I've heard tonight. I want you to tweet that right now. That Brook Lopez is like a young Roy Hibbert. I don't think you'll have more cross eyes or anything else you could possibly.
I'm not afraid of that.
I think they're the opposite basketball player, the opposite side of the overrated coin of finding a way to make all-star games without ever being an all-star. No, I mean,
no, I again having.
Are they going to be better? Are they going to be worse? I guess they could. I mean, I don't know. At the start of the season, they also had Joe Johnson on the roster last year.
Have you seen Joe Johnson play?
Yes. But I'm just
saying, you're just remembering Joe Johnson highlights. I mean, that's.
Well, no, I just mean physically, he had to take shots for that team. Like you said, there was no one to do anything. So it's like this year they're going to be starting fucking Hollis Jefferson, Foy, and Booker in between Lynn and Lopez.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. I mean, Foy is better than Wayne Ellington.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I mean, we're just talking about garbage or like nicer smelling garbage, basically, for the Brooklyn Nets. And I do think
I mean, we're watching this game right now. They're ahead. What do you think about the Knicks?
I think the Knicks are all about health. Like if you get a full year out of Rose and Noah, that's a good team. It's a good team.
You're not going to.
Well, that's my point. Is like it's all about health, and I think, and I was saying this before, so I think Noah's health is more important than Rose's health.
Because I think it's the bigger, as much as Derrick Rose gets hurt every year. Noah's got the years as well, so I kind of think he's more likely to get injured than Rose. I mean, I guess there are probably algorithms out there and people that come up with injury percentages, and I've never done enough to take that into account the way that I should. But I think that Noah has a pretty good chance of getting injured, man.
Again, well, it's about how many games. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, he's going to be out. He's not playing 80.
Derrick Rose can play 35 minutes in the game. I don't think Noah's ever playing more than 30, even when he's healthy.
Right, but he gives them at the end of games. When you have to win, that's when I want Joakim Noah out there. That's what I want him there for. I think he gives them a toughness that they didn't have. Distributor.
He can play for a year or two. And I mean, I'll hate if their Hernan Gomez brother does well, because I think that was who we took him like 2 years ago. But I think he's slated as their backup center to start.
Who's slated as their backup center?
Or no, maybe not. That could be wrong. Let me double check that.
Hernandez? Is that who you're talking about? Hernan Gomez? I have no idea. No, I don't know about them.
Two of them.
Well, Cock is their backup center, I thought. Kyle O'Quinn?
No, he's not.
He's not?
It depends. Honestly, here's what I'll say about depth charts.
Tonight he is.
I use Basketball GM, ESPN, and Roto World, and I had a different starting five over the last 3 days for all of these teams. And
I can tell you that Kyle O'Quinn was the first big off the bench.
Yes. No, early in the season. Yes.
Yeah. Again, we can't really. I mean, they have the other Plumlee too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pointing out just for other people to keep in mind as well. Depth charts in general at this stage of the season, there is no site that has any similarity to any other site. I mean, I'm looking at Roto World, Basketball GM, ESPN.
Well, we were talking about the data is shit, because I can tell you, anybody who played preseason last year, there was a guy by the name of John Jenkins for Dallas.
By the way, Iman Shumpert running the point like I suggested.
If
LeBron is out with Kyrie, they don't have depth. He's going to have to slide over. He's like, I just said, I've led this off saying he'll probably end up playing a little bit more than people expect, because right now he's the primary backup for both guard positions.
Yes.
So, that's how he's being used.
I love that Richard Jefferson's still in the league. It warms my heart every time I see
that's Dunleavy, right? Yeah. Got to get used to saying, "Here you go, Richard. Well done." But no, I think Hernan Gomez. I've watched him. I mean, supremely talented. And when I say he needs to get his head around the NBA, I don't mean like he's an idiot. Like he really just a month from now revisit him, and I think he'll take over for Cock, as you called him.
Yes, Cal O'Quinn. I think Dunleavy isn't a bad addition for Cleveland. I think that's a guy.
What was that? Sorry.
Dunleavy isn't a bad addition for Cleveland. Oh my God, Richard Jefferson stole the ball. He's gonna. Oh my God, Richard Jefferson just got dunked. The Knicks should retire. They all should retire.
Oh, you're like running on like a 20-second late feed right now.
Yeah, I'm streaming it.
Jumper just crossed half court in my feed.
No, I'm
actually trying to figure out what positions they're playing right now and who they have where. If Dunleavy or Jefferson's considered the 2 guard right now, you realize that Jefferson, Dunleavy, and Shumpert are there's 3 small guys right now. So we're learning a lot about this team.
Yeah, I don't.
The most consistent starting lineup team. Because you have those 3 guys. I mean, I guess Dunleavy's the 3.
Yeah, I just think
Richard Jefferson's the 3. Neither of them is a guard.
Yeah, I don't know what without I guess the Deladova hole is bigger than you would think. And
yes, because they didn't replace him, and Kay Felder, the 2nd-round pick they had, isn't ready. I mean, he's concussed tonight, but he also wouldn't be ready to play for a couple weeks. He's just not up to speed.
They should go sign Jordan Farmar. That's a team where Jordan Farmar is not the wrong pick.
I was just hoping in situations like this where Iman Shumpert played the point that you wouldn't be playing both Dunleavy and Jefferson, and not that it was realistic, but I was kind of hoping that Jordan McRae would get some second unit time as the shooting guard. Because you could also play Shumpert with McRae and one of Dunleavy or Jefferson. But
I read an article that basically says they're trying to dump McRae for a point guard.
Yes,
and he could be a Sixer again, by the way.
I guess the frustration with him and the Sixers always comes back to the one position we have never had any of on the roster was shooting guards. We had Jason Richardson for 3 years as the only eligible shooting guard on the roster. Now we have Stauskas, which doesn't count. So, Gerald definitely counts. Gerald and Bayless are definitely count. But that position to draft someone in the 2nd round and say, we're going to send him to Australia.
And then...
I mean, you're developing everyone else in America who doesn't have a future in the league. This one guy who probably does have a future goes over there, comes back the next year and starts his 2nd season or his first in the NBA in summer league and struggles because he's never played the NBA game because you basically said, hey, you're drafted, but now we're going to take a year off from your development. I'm sorry, sending a player overseas when they've been playing in American universities is a detriment before they play in the NBA.
I agree, or there would be more high schoolers that leave and go out of the country to make their money.
First, not get drafted in the NBA and say, I'm going to play overseas, or have your team send you overseas. I mean, last thing I'll say about that, but it goes back to that first year when Michael Carter-Williams had a bad summer league, and who was the big guy that everyone was saying, I can't believe Sam got him in the 2nd round. He's so good.
Who?
Arsalan Kazemi, who then went to Iran. And then went to China and no longer had his rights. I think Houston picked up his rights last year.
Well,
there was sending players overseas after drafting them thing doesn't make sense. Letting them stay overseas if that's where you drafted them from, sure. Yes. But saying that we're going to take you and send you to a different league, I think is one of the most naive things that Sam was doing, honestly. But let's continue. I just want to look at look at our division because we're going to see it a little bit more. And you were talking about the Raptors. Now, the Raptors theoretically didn't do much this offseason, right? They just dumped all their backup bigs and replaced them with young bigs.
Correct. Yes.
Biombo, JT, Scola, James Johnson, and drafted a center and a power forward. So that's conceivably the Sullinger injury hurts a lot, and he's going to be out the first 2 months of the season at least. But Patrick Patterson will probably slide in there. That team's the same team for the most part, just younger.
They're actually better because Carroll is healthy. They're actually.
Well, yeah, that's a huge point. Actually, you're correct on that.
They're actually. I mean, I like that team. It's just all their guys seem to be sporadically good. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have a lot of consistent play on that team.
DeMar and Lowry don't have nights where they look like the best backcourt in basketball. They look like one all-star and one bum.
Right, and man, it's early in the season. Valanciunas, that's how. It's Jonas Valanciunas. Same shit. Like he's foul prone sometimes, or he'll just disappear. I mentioned him.
Can I mention that was the weirdest thing because the disappearing wasn't about him disappearing. Dwayne Casey wasn't playing him in second halves. He averaged 26 minutes per game, and that was because Biyombo played another 22.
Yeah, well, that was there was also a phenomenon of the way that went the second half of the season versus the first.
Yes.
So I think that also Valanciunas got in foul trouble a little too much, and he got early fouls, and then he would leave Biyombo in because they were playing better with him.
Yeah, because because the fact is that Jonas can play on the offensive end, but when your starting front court is in the game, he's not going to be very involved, and it's probably more beneficial to your team to have Biyombo eat up minutes on the other end.
Right.
Because neither Lowry or DeMar is going to stop anyone from driving on them, and then you have
and then you have a rim defender. So
the loss of Biyombo hurts, but the idea that they just got rid of 2 centers and 2 power forwards that were all backups. I mean, Scola wasn't, but theoretically he was.
I don't know. I mean, I think Lowry's going to have a big year because he's in a contract year, and I think that will be on his mind. Although, I mean, all he has to do is play like he's been playing, and he's going to be a max guy. Basically,
for the Sixers?
That's what's going to happen. It's not what I'm telling you I want. It's just what's gonna. It's what's
then you watch any of the? I mean, do you know anything about these draft picks at all? I didn't know how involved in the NBA drafts were.
Which ones for who?
Just in general, this draft class.
Yes, I mean I do. I'm mostly about how they've been playing in preseason because I did play a lot of preseason.
Okay. No, I mean I was reading up about a lot of the guys earlier today, so I think I mean I don't know how to pronounce half their names, especially on Toronto because they're both foreigners. Jesus Christ.
Podol and Siakam. I can't.
Yeah, I think Siakam could actually see minutes early.
He can, but I
Barrett Stone's injury and Patrick Patterson shouldn't start, but is. So I'm just talking,
every Sixers big is better than what they have there. Every Sixers big. Like
that's not true.
No, I meant at power forward. At power forward without Sullinger. Like Siakam, is that his name? Every Sixers big is better than him. So like Richaun Holmes would be an upgrade over that guy by far. In what I saw, again, I saw him play a couple preseason games. I was not impressed. He looked like a young Patrick Patterson, aloof, like not involved. Like, yeah, he'll make a nice little play here and there, but not somebody who's like a star in waiting or,
No, I think he's definitely someone who will be DFS relevant more so than real life relevant. Because he'll be mid-priced when he finally gets to play if he breaks through because they don't have the depth. But he'll put up those 28 fantasy points for 4K. Everyone will love him, but in real life, he's not actually good.
I don't even know if he'll do that. In all honesty, I don't. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I think they'll play.
So thin at those. Again, I was just just very thin.
He gives me that feeling of like he just doesn't get the stats. Like he wants to walk away from the rebound. When there are 2 guys on the same team
but
for the rebound.
No, he's gonna play, man. To start the season.
I'm not saying he's gonna play. I'm just saying he's just not. I don't think he's gonna be points per minute guy.
Okay. But I think he's gonna be 3K. So it's one of those. If he's gonna play 24 minutes or to 28 minutes, he'll probably get you that while he's mid-priced.
Yes. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm so like right now. I'm focused on what we talked about earlier, which is people are going to go off of last season and they're going to go off of preseason. They're not going to go off of what's real. And I don't think
what I'm saying is someone like Siakam who did bad in the preseason, and you have just Patterson and Valanciunas, and the only 2 other bigs on the roster are the draft picks. They have to play like game 1, Podol and Siakam.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm.
And I don't think Dwayne Casey likes Patrick Patterson, so I think Siakam is going to be given that opportunity right off the bat. Would it surprise me if he didn't make the most of the opportunity and was put on the bench? No, but I think early in the season, no one's going to look there, and that's someone that if he's mid-priced,
unfortunately, I see like a
opportunity even without starting.
I see a Holmes for Terrence Ross trade in our future. Unfortunately, like that's the type of thing that I'm just telling you. I do too. I would. I mean, it's amazing how you can love all the big men on the Sixers and just,
Yeah, but he can play the. I mean, he could be taught to play the 3.
I don't think he's the outside shot to play the 3 in this league. Like from what
not in the league, but for the Sixers, dude. We're talking about the Sixers here.
No. I mean, they have coming.
The outside shot to play anything.
No, but I'd rather play Sarge at the 3. I mean, I'd rather play Sarge.
Well, Sarge isn't playing the 3, by the way. Covington will be playing the 3.
No, but I meant
Sarge
like when you're talking about
4,
mixing
right?
it up. What's that? Yeah, he's playing the 4, but I think at some point they're going to play with a Saric, Embiid, Okafor lineup to see if that can exist at all.
Nope. I mean, I can save him the one embarrassing game. Nope.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you're playing, of course, but I mean, yeah, that. But
You'll be able to pass in the paint, getting 2 men in on Embiid. If those are the 2 guys that are, if Saric and Okafor are the 3 and the 4, you're gonna have like just bounce passes in the paint on Embiid, and he can't do anything about it. I'm nervous for Saric to be a turnstile, so I don't want him in the game at the same time as Okafor.
They're definitely going to run Okafor at 4 for a little bit. There's no doubt about it because
sure, because I mean, who's playing Embiid's not playing that many minutes.
No, but
none of them are playing that many minutes.
They need to see if they can coexist. I mean, Nerlens is out for a month, and they have to trade Nerlens or Okafor. They have, in all honesty, they may have to trade Saric, and that's the thing I don't want them to do because Saric is a piece. He's not the piece, but he is a piece. Like he is. I really like his vision on the court. I like him. I think defensively, yes, he can get beat off the ball.
He doesn't need to start, and he could be a top 6 man. Yeah.
Right. So I would hate to see them trade him and not get the value I think he is, but they got to move somebody. And Colangelo will move somebody. He may not make the right move, but he's going to move somebody.
Yeah, hopefully it's fucking Hollis Thompson and Nick Stauskas off the roster already. Neither of those 2 guys are both eating up roster spots that shouldn't be. Everyone else is the case for a roster spot.
I mean, Archie Goodwin over Stauskas at this point. Like just again, it's one of those things of Stauskas has been in this league. Get rid of him and let's just move on. I mean, we didn't give anything up for him.
Jimmer.
Well, I mean, let's not get crazy.
Well, that's how much I respect Hollis.
Well, Hollis Thomas. I mean, again, you're talking about 2 guys that don't belong in the NBA. Again, we're at
one that took 4 years. So like, let's try another one that doesn't belong. I mean, I don't.
Well, yeah.
The love affair with Hollis Thompson from Brett Brown is one of the most confusing things. At least with some of the other love affairs, they had to do with contracts and Hinkie and some hubris. But that one's just it's undrafted. You just like Hollis Thompson.
I can give him a spot as long as they get rid of Stauskas. You know what I mean? Like I can give him.
No matter what, they got rid of Isaiah Cannon, which was the most important to me.
Well, yeah, we're so in the Atlantic Division. I think the Knicks are purely health dependent. I think the Celtics.
I mean, is your finishing position Boston, Toronto, New York, Philadelphia, Brooklyn?
I have to.
I mean, it comes down to 1 and 2. I think 3 and 4, or 3 is locked. Most people who aren't living in the state of New York will have New York as finishing 3rd in the division.
Yes, I think, and I think the Sixers are better than Brooklyn.
The 5 would be New York to finish 3rd. Are the Sixers slightly better than Brooklyn? Probably.
I would tell you, I think Boston wins.
You think Boston takes? I think that's what I said. We can rewind it, but I think Boston, Toronto, Knicks. All right, and so let's move on to your division in the Southeast, because we haven't said a word about the dumpster fire that is Miami. Heat.
Yeah, but I'm in New Jersey now, so I'm just busting.
It's going to take me a while to remember in my head that you're not a Miami Heat guy anymore.
I was never a Miami Heat guy, but I mean, it was.
Yeah, you tried, but the city just does. I mean, they care about basketball as much as Tampa Bay cares about baseball.
Yeah, I love it was great to be in a town with great basket. Yeah, and I loved basketball. That was like rooting for the Bulls. I wasn't a Bulls fan. I was just a basketball fan. Although I cannot.
But can you think of a team with a more lopsided like additions and subtractions than Miami? I mean, you lose Luol Deng, Dwayne Wade. Not that again, I understand that Joe Johnson isn't today. Gerald Green, Amari Stoudemire. The guys you added were Wayne Ellington, Luke Babbitt, Dion Waiters, James Johnson, and Derek Williams.
I am so cool. Like I wanted Dion Waiters. I know that
in Miami or Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, but
yeah.
I mean. I think that Dion Waiters deserves a season of just like green light. Let's see, kid. Here's green light.
And where better to do it than in your hometown? Though.
Yes.
Yeah. And I told you the story about me getting into a fight with his mom or aunt, right? Or no?
No.
Yeah, that happened at a game. They were sitting next to me, and I had no idea. But then it sucked for them because when DraftKings sent us to the game, he got traded while in Philadelphia. Got screwed.
What Miami did though is that they really they're clearing the decks. I mean, that's all they're doing.
I mean, they're making Hassan Whiteside a piece, and they're figuring it out from there. And Justice Winslow, and they'll figure it out from there. But waiters.
I think
Derek Williams is one of those guys like, hey, this is so highly touted at the beginning. Clearly not a great fit for it. And he won by himself without working on some things, but he's cheap. Why not let him play?
I hear you. I think that the question, what really kind of shocked me is when they talked about dumping Dragic.
He's on a minutes limit, right, to start the season. Or just they want to keep him around 32, 33 minutes a night. Yeah, they don't want him to play many minutes. Or not many minutes, but closer to 30 than 40 every night.
Well, I think that's probably because they want to keep his...
They also give a shit ton of money to Tyler Johnson, right?
Yeah. Well, Tyler Johnson can play. I mean, he can play.
Again, blame the players for when they become free agents. No, he's not worth $15 million a year. But it's a stupid way that a lot of old people were doing this. Oh, he's not worth this. He's not worth that. Yeah.
It's the market. It was the market last year. I mean,
yes, but that's why I was so, like you said, you're so impressed with the Sixers because it's like, yes, Gerald Henderson's better than Mozgov. You're getting Gerald for $7 million a year, $8 million. I mean, they did well.
With Gerald and Rodriguez, I like the fact that those guys have been around a while and can contribute more than just their basketball skills. They can be professionals, which I think that a lot of those young guys have to learn how to be professionals. And they had Elton Brand a little bit, and I think that was funny, him retiring. Because I think they're just paying him. They're like, hey, we can pay $1 million out of your salary instead of paying you $1 million to be in the front office. Isn't that a great move? Because it's not going to cost us that $1 million. But I think that was part of the reason I like those moves. But if Miami trades, I mean, Pat Riley is capable of finding talent and is as good as there is. So he's going to move Dragic. If there's rumors that he's going to move Dragic, he's moving Dragic, and that will be the trade. What will set them up, and that's I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know for what. I don't know I mean, I guess a lot of these guys signed one and done kind of contracts. Like I don't even know with Durant. Like, did he sign like a 1 year out, or did he just sign the? He signed the max.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a. I mean, I think LeBron has another 1 year option. So I don't even know who you could.
Right?
For who? LeBron? Yeah, but whatever the deal, it might be another like his option to get out at the end of the year because the cap goes up again at the end of the year. So
yeah, I think Durant has a 2 year deal, but he can opt out after a year.
Oh, so I mean that's who Pat Riley's going after. He's just praying that it doesn't work in Golden State, and then he gets Durant. Because if you're looking at a free agent that you could sign in the NBA now, who would you be looking at? Even a year or 2 years down the road, like Westbrook just signed a 3 year deal. He was going to be the.
I mean, you needed Westbrook to get really frustrated and leave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he signed that deal. He would have been the most sought after free agent probably ever. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but
No, I agree.
Because of the timing of it. And I think Durant made a terrible, terrible move going to Golden State.
And I agree. We'll see the game tonight. I mean, I'm really excited to watch it, but I don't know how he and Draymond are going to play together.
And there's just only so much ball that goes around. I mean, I watched it. He does get more.
The Draymond thing was more about attitude, to be honest.
Like
I don't feel like. I mean, I don't mean this. I don't mean to knock on him, but I don't feel like he's a high motor player in terms of
intensity. Yeah,
he'll have good shooting at times when he's mad. He's just not. I mean, I don't think he's a hard-nosed player.
Well, I think I guess you and I are looking at it the same thing from a different angle, which is I think he was so involved when he played in Oklahoma that I just don't know how he's going to keep his head in the game, not being as involved on every possession. I mean, he played out of his mind in that series at times against Golden State. He was as good as any player you'll ever watch. But that was because it was when it was, and that I think that makeup might have been better for him than this team. It's just too many shooters. I know that sounds crazy, but and I think it makes Draymond less effective because I actually think it would be to their benefit if somebody got hurt.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. What's that?
They don't have guard depth, except for Klay Thompson, because they don't have guard depth. They have Sean Livingston at the point, but they don't. I mean, I believe they're
you'd play
backup shooting guard right now.
Yeah, McCaw.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Who's not bad. I mean,
no. You could always move Curry to a 2-guard too if you wanted to.
Yeah, but what I mean is that their backcourt of Curry, Klay, Livingston, McCaw is very shallow.
Yeah, well, and I think their front court is more shallow. No,
they have Varejao and David West and Iguodala. They have backups at each position that are starters. So no.
Varejao did not.
He's not a starter. I get it, but either is Pachulia. I mean,
yeah. Well, that was kind of my point. Is like
Pachulia, Varejao, and I believe they signed JaVale McGee. Can all just play a hard-nosed 15 minutes apiece and pick up fouls.
But they're not Bogut and Festus and Spates. I know what you're saying. But that team came up together. Like those, for the most part, those guys played together for a few years and like got better together. So you and I are on the same train with Golden State, which is there's no denying they're an amazing team. But I think
there are times where I'll play Draymond at center and let David West just start. I mean, depending on opponent, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I think that's a better team, but then you really have nothing off the bench. You just stagger Klay, Curry, and Durant, and you can play.
Durant. You still have Iguodala.
You can play Durant at center.
No, you can't.
Sure, you can against certain players. No,
because you'll never hear the end of it if he comes down on a rebound and gets hurt because he's hustling against bigger guys. You'll never. No.
Yeah, well, I
the body to play center.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can mix it up and play either of them however you want. But I still think that the issue is that the Spurs, to me, are significantly worse than they were last year.
Really?
Age, just simply age, and not doing enough at point guard, which is that Tony Parker and Patty Mills couldn't do it for you last year, and I don't know how it's going to be any better. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see it as?
I mean, they won 67 games last year. The Vegas line this year is 58.5. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a big concern. They did use their first round pick on a point guard. So we'll see how he develops.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, I trust their ability to gain talent, but
they did. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They did. You're saying point guard. They didn't do anything with. They didn't pick up anyone. You're right, and they probably should have. But they did use their first round pick.
No,
okay.
Yes. Who was another player I wanted the Sixers to take, by the way.
Yes. So, I mean, right, because Danny Green's hurt, and they're never going to start Manu Ginobili. So you're going to have Kyle Anderson slide over.
And Simmons, Jonathan Simmons. I think if he's healthy, he'll play a lot.
Today, though. Yeah. No, he's not hurt.
I was going to say I left him in some lineups. I think I didn't even get that many lineups in tonight, and I'm looking at the lines here, and I'm like, oh, I have none of the players that are doing well. I mean, except for LeBron. I think I played LeBron 100% across everywhere. LeBron is such a narrative street player, if I'm in the mood, I'll put up a triple-double. He really is.
Except if you remember that time he fucked everyone in DFS when it was, I believe it was a Wizards game, and someone had talked shit about it, and he said, just watch me tonight.
Oh.
And he put up like 28 fantasy points.
Yeah, I don't.
One time he opened his mouth, he actually was bad.
That I kind of remember, but I always feel like when LeBron, I don't know. Again, it's just like tonight I felt like, okay, this is LeBron. This is not Kyrie's night. This is not LeBron's. I mean, not anybody else's night. This is LeBron's night. He's going to put up 20, 12, and 8 easy, 2 and 2, and you have to play him. Whereas probably more than 20, but from a DFS standpoint, if you were playing Durant tonight, I don't know why.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's probably the worst play on the board tonight.
But I mean, unless it was a pure contrarian play, like I think I might have played him once because I was like,
If you're playing
wow.
$4 and 200,000 people, there's no such thing as a bad play because every conceivable common sense good lineup will be covered 10 times over.
Yeah, that makes it, especially on FanDuel where there's no MPE and it's just like I don't. I played it. I haven't. You and I haven't talked since late swap got eliminated. What is your feeling about late swap going away?
Horrible. I mean, I would argue that a court could challenge DFS and say that basketball DFS is gambling. I'm so against it. And I understand why they did it. And I'm not necessarily against that. Personally, I'm not going to try to be making my living on daily fantasy basketball anymore because you can't play cash games consistently. We can only look at 8 teams in the league that are going to start all games at 7 p.m.
I think there are going to be a lot more small slate action. You're going to play the 7.
That's what I don't play anyway. So for me, it means that I'm not counting on this money anymore. I'm really not. I made that decision. I'm doing part-time work elsewhere as well because I'm not a gambler, so to speak. And the idea of having all the information is needed. I mean, you're basically saying if you're going to split slates, that's fine. The reason you don't do that is because it creates an even bigger MME advantage, especially on a site like, the multi-position eligibility to open it up, but that's going to open it up to the 150. It's not going to open it up for the guy doing one lineup. It's such an advantage to people who can burn lineups on not just questionable tags, but even players who, backups in a late game that you're not sure. I mean, there's so many advantages now. And at the end of the day, I get it. I don't think I interacted with Aguilar, but I read what he was saying and I do get it. But at the end of the day, it's just another magic trick to me. It's another, make the people think like it's more fair and the average person has more of a chance, when in reality, this makes it harder for them.
I don't think that's what they did. I actually don't think this was a move for that. I think that their public stance versus their private stance are different. Their public stance is we changed this for the casual players so that they could watch the games and not have to do the late swap. I think what they looked at is who uses late swap and who takes money out of our site. And they want to say that the people who use late swap are the ones who win, and those are not the people we want to win. They don't want winners. I mean, ultimately, they want...
Yeah. Someone has to win each day, but I get it. They want everyone to win 51% of their games and then take all their 49 and 51 and then take all the rake. Yeah, I get it.
Well, but that's the point is that, and they probably also looked at it and said, this is the analysis I would have done, is who takes the most money out of our site? Oh, okay.
Sure, but here's my problem with that analysis, Mike. Mm-hmm. Why is late game swap not immediately ended for football? Because they know without a doubt, and it's the same thing there, who's making money in football? Late game fucking swap. It makes people millionaires in the Millionaire Maker. I would wager that like a good percentage of Millionaire Makers knew, and the person who basically was in 10th or the second lineup, you have to late game swap.
There's a difference. There's a difference between that.
The argument was that you have so much time to late game swap because there's hours and.
I agree with
it. Either is allowed or it isn't. It's bullshit to me to say it's not for basketball, which is the one sport that requires it to actually be able to put together a lineup that will play in that night's action.
I agree with what you just said, but I think that not eliminating it for MLB and NHL is silly. Like if you're gonna
eliminate it.
Football, I mean, you could
eliminate it. If your public stance, just because you're going to seem like a shithead when someone calls you out on your public stance being X and it not applying to football, which is the single sport that the most new people play, it's bullshit. I mean,
that was
about profitability, like you said, and the public rationale of helping the new people. Anyone who's new that believes that and isn't understanding that it's actually hurting them. And I know that people trolled on Twitter when it first came out and said, "Oh, everyone either says this is great for us or this is bad for us." No matter what, not having information when you lock is bad for the skill game.
Agreed.
There is no way to play NBA games and consider yourself. I mean, unless you're basically going to say there's only one conference when games are at the East Coast, we can play them.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I don't think they're in the business of creating a skill game. Like, that's not the point. They're in the business of making money.
Here's the thing, Mike. If I did a study this year on DraftKings, I'm pretty sure with the zeros that are going to come, even just doing one on FanDuel based on the past, but at least because, as Drew and I were really upset about, I mean, the biggest thing that I think Drew and I agreed was you don't have a duopoly. You basically have a duopoly, but you have two different ways to play. Now we're not allowed to have two different ways to play. As soon as that happens, I mean, again, because this all it's doing is turning DraftKings into FanDuel plus MPE, which is still better. But do I believe that FanDuel basketball in the past seasons was a game of skill? No. I honestly believe that if you don't know on any night who's going to be playing in the games, I don't understand how you can call that skill. I mean, you're not. The argument was we want people, the public sentiment of spending time with your family. What it boils down to at the end of the day is you're saying the advantage people gain from time commitment is now swapped with the advantage people gain from bankroll commitment. And that's fucking absurd to me, because in anything, if you spend more time on it, that should contribute to the skill more than spending more money.
Again, everything you're saying, I just think that.
I'm not even mad at them because I understand why they're doing it. It's just, if I were arguing with them, I think I'd have a stronger case than them, but I think both opinions are valid. It's not something that's like a one-sided 99% to 1, but I think that you're eliminating 100% being able to call it a skill game when you're going to know, on average, on a 15-game slate, 4 to 6 lineups.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I agree with you. I just think that the reasoning that they gave for getting rid of late swap is not accurate. I believe that they. Okay. I think the other thing they did that was with first prize. This is along the same reason that they cut, not in their big tournaments, in their Millionaire Maker, whatever, but on DraftKings, they cut the amount that they're paying the first prize down to, in some instances, 2%, 3%, 5% of the total prize pool, because they looked at it and they said, who takes money out? The people who hit first, they take money out. Let's not give as much money to first prize, and then we'll keep money in the system. So I think they dramatically cut down on first prize for that reason.
That's interesting. I mean, I hear it. The only thing I would worry about that is if you're not having first prize be so top heavy, aren't they worried that all their MMA people that fill these contests, the whole point of Salil or Asani doing all their entries was, it almost calculated for a while where if fifth place paid back better than the max entries, they would enter it. If it didn't, they wouldn't max it out.
Because they don't talking about their goal right now, in my opinion, is to divert money from winning players into rake. That's where they're saying to themselves, we can't necessarily speed up deposits right now because it is what it is. You know what I mean?
By the way, just for fun, Brooke Lopez is 1 year younger than Roy Hibbert.
Still doesn't matter. He's still Brooke Lopez.
He's a 1 year younger. Still the dumbest thing. All right.
If you've seen them play in person, you know that there's never any air between them and the court ever in the last 3 years, the two of them. No, but as I'm a much more casual player than you are when it comes to...
Hold on. Rationally speaking, is there any way you can believe anything DraftKings is saying about the reasoning for late? I mean, you're the one who's challenging the reasoning before I did. But yes. Can you take it seriously at all when it's one sport specific? No. The idea, I mean, none of that excuse doesn't work. It doesn't.
Right. If they had done it for all 3 daily sports, it would have been a lot more believable. But I think all their stuff they're doing now is they want to divert money.
The fact is, basketball and baseball are the same. I mean, they are the same in that you need to have.
Right, but in baseball, they give out the information a lot earlier, so you can.
No, they don't. Not at 7 o'clock. There will be no line at 9 o'clock. Right. Earlier, yes. At basketball, you literally have to get into 20 minutes before the game. In baseball, it's more like an hour and a half. But still, if you're having a 7 o'clock game, any game starting at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30 is unknown if you have luck.
I agree. I just think that people.
What I'm challenging you with is, are you saying that when they went in and looked at who was winning the money in baseball, it wasn't people using late swap?
I think that they'll burn that bridge when they get to it.
Okay. I just think late swap is obviously, if you're utilizing something, sure, there's the times you swap and mess up your lineup, but in the majority of times, late swap is still, and I guess what got me heated the day they did it, when they gave the explanation they did, I didn't take it the way I said, all right, if I'm going to believe this is the explanation, go from there, and it doesn't add up as an explanation, which is why
the other thing I would tell you is that late swap in baseball it's not the same value, because in basketball you can't miss. In basketball, to win, you can't miss. You can't. You in baseball, you can have a 0 and still win money.
Yeah, if there are 2 or 3 guys that hit multi-home run nights, your 0 doesn't matter.
So I think that the impact of the changes in basketball probably had a much more net negative effect on the depositors. That's what I would tell you.
Fair enough.
And that's where I think the analysis is being done. It's what I'm just saying, because it's what I would do. Is I would be right now. I mean, rate going to 17% is absurd. And however you calculate it, I calculate this 100 plus.
I do it the way you're supposed to, which takes a couple percentage points off. But I agree that that's probably the way most people do it off the top.
Well, it comes from poker, because one of my friends he's a professional poker player was staying here for a few days, and I said, how much when you enter $100 tournament?
It looks skinny.
And he said it's 100 plus 9, because that's how they do it in poker. They tell you how much is going to the prize pool and how much is going to rate, and it's 100 plus 17 if it were in DFS, and that's I said that to him. He's like, that's unsustainable. I'm in one of the top. He's literally was ranked top 100 poker players in the world. He's like, that would make it totally unsustainable in poker if they made the rate 17% or whatever, 100 plus 17. So that's the issue.
I'm not going to jump into a DraftKings slate. I won't jump in tomorrow. I'll probably jump in 2 or 3 days. I'm waiting for everyone, for a 20% owned guy to get a 0 so that I can be 1 ahead of the field. It's so frustrating. It's just I guess the big thing is to not have the option, for it to be a sport, to blacklist based on sport. There's so much about it that just stinks. That just stinks of what you're saying, of it 100% being about dollars and cents and having nothing to do with the player experience, fairness, or skill. And I think you're right. I'll be honest, when we started this conversation, I was not in that place, but you broke it down well, and I think it's piggy as fuck, to be honest.
I don't think they have a choice. I mean, I think that, a lot of the articles and stuff that came out, it's like, if you look at the growth of players and the growth of money, it's just the ecosystem that you always talk about, which is at some point they were going to have to make money, and either they were going to have to get a lot more players or they were going to have to make more money from the players they have. And that's what they're doing now.
I mean, again, it all, I mean, sure, if you're saying that they were never going to try to size things correctly, and because the model was top heavy prizes, all that shit, sure.
Yeah, well, the top heavy prizes, I mean, I think FanDuel has done, that's why I think FanDuel's done well and is in a better position right now, because they aren't paying $1 million out every week. That when somebody
I also think they're doing well because their single entry and limited entry, 3 to 5 entry, is significantly, I mean, you have single entries of the same dollar value on FanDuel as DraftKings, where 6th place on FanDuel pays first prize on DraftKings. I mean, that's $2 or $3 single entry tournament on FanDuel. You can get $1,000 in the top 10.
I agree. That's why I try to play on there.
I guess what I'm saying is, this whole late game swap, all this dollars and the cents, I wish they had just gone the idea of, mass multi-entry isn't a skill game. So let's figure out ways where we can have more tournaments.
Oh, they've gone the other way. They've gone
the other way, and as a result, they're doing the late game swap.
The only thing I can tell you is that, to me, mass multi-entry is a skill. It's just not the
advertised skill. I know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem, because I tried a little bit in football. I even tried it in like the quarter arcade in football, because we've both done it in basketball. I tried it in football. I still sucked because I didn't know how to
football. By the way,
what's that?
You couldn't have sucked this week in football because
I won in football this week. I
was going to say you had to win, but you had to put up at least a 150 on draft.
I put up a 205 on DraftKings.
My one DraftKings on it was just a 186. My FanDuel was pretty good. It was like 168.
I haven't scored over 150 in FanDuel all year, so I'm no good at
I had the Eagles D with the top kicker. So
yeah, because that's so much skill.
Because that's 40 points right there. I know, right?
So much skill that I can't even count how much.
But I guess I think everything that we've said about late swap is correct. I think the only people who don't have their heads on right between what they're saying and what I think you're right. Their rationale and their explanation don't match up whatsoever. And there's more than one loophole to explain that. Like, if this is what you care about, why haven't you done X, Y, and Z? Why doesn't it apply to other sports? So we know that it isn't true. And if it's not true, why would you say it's true? Well, because the actual reality doesn't sound good to people.
No, and I
think your business acumen and understanding how companies do things like that, you open my eyes to that. I think that's right?
And
it's
when we were saying about the $1 million first prize, that's a lot. Like Smizzle won $1 million, right? How much did
late
Smizzle?
swap, by the way.
What's that? Did he
I
guess?
bet he late swap.
Yeah, I think he did. That's exactly how he won. I think he took Stephen Diggs or something. But my point
Because
more
he
so
was down
there
in
is that
yeah, it's great.
if you win $1 million, you take most of it off the site. Even a top player is going to take 900,000 off. Do you know what I mean? Like that's my point about first prize. That's why it keeps coming down. But FanDuel makes up by that by not paying the $1 million out every week. They can do more reasonable everywhere else because they're not paying out that 900,000 is not going off the site every week.
What you're saying is that DraftKings could conceivably run worthwhile single entry contests, which they do not right now, if they just basically took the top heavy prizes down a notch.
If DraftKings got rid of the Millionaire Maker, they could run a much better ecosystem.
The fact is, like when you look at a free roll on DraftKings, they do have 100,000 people signing up. So why is your $5 single entry 500 people, and on FanDuel it's like 5,000? It doesn't make sense how much
they've really promoted the 3 entry. And if you look at the 3 max,
the 3 to 5 max, yes, the old Draft Street model.
Right, which I can live with that if that's what you want to promote.
I don't mind that. As I told new players who are playing, if you can't get 10% of the max entries, don't enter that contest. But if it's a 3 or 5 entry max, you don't need to have the 3 or 5 to compete. You can have one.
But my problem with that is that like the 3 max tomorrow night, they got a big 3 max, 25,000 prize pool. First prize is $1,000. So you're only getting DraftKings. So
25,000. It's really.
It's only that's my point. Is it used to be way back in the day? God, it was 15% would go to first place. So you would get whatever you get $37.50. So the if you get 11th, you get $100.
Look, I'll say it right now. Multi-position eligibility is nice. Play basketball on FanDuel. If you're voting with your who's leading the industry in the right direction, if that matters to you. As much as I think that I've said this a million times and I'll never back down, but as much as I think Nigel is incompetent as it pertains to understanding what's going on in his day-to-day at his company, because he is a much better businessman.
Well, he's been playing the long game, which they
have a better without late game swap. That product is better because the contest offerings are 10 times better. And the only thing was if you had the ability to late game swap, because it is an advantage, because not 100% of people will do it, it made sense to play on DraftKings. I also never played cash games on FanDuel for the most part because I couldn't be confident in playing 10 o'clock games. And
I've been playing FanDuel for a while, so I'm a little more used to it. I think people who have more familiarity playing on FanDuel are more comfortable with what's going on.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you were willing to play on FanDuel before, you can't really complain about no late swap.
That's a fair distinction to give them credit. It's not like the other site that you were playing on hasn't been like this all along.
Right, but the other thing I would argue that one of the things that I dislike the most is what some people complain about, which is, hey, there's one 7 o'clock game, and I just basically punt on the 7 o'clock game.
Exactly, and fill your roster and late swap afterwards. And
right,
when 40% own bombs or does well, you have to get variant. Yeah.
But that my point is, like, I've been like out doing something and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be home to do research by 7, but I'll be home by 8. So I'll literally take everybody after 8 o'clock, or maybe I'll take one guy early and I'll get home and
that was the thing on DraftKings is I would barely ever have a lineup set at 7 o'clock. Barely ever.
But I'm actually hoping that I'm hoping that they have split slates. Like, I mean, if they would drop.
I'm hoping they do too, Mike. But even at 7, you don't have the 8 o'clock lineup, and there's no guarantee of the 7:30 lineups. It is like it's so. No matter what the second time slot on the slate is, you won't have those lineups. If there's a third, if there's an hour between lock, you will certainly not. If there's half an hour, probably won't.
All right. I mean, I agree with you. I just think that even tomorrow with a huge slate, basically you could run a 7 o'clock and an 8 o'clock slate. Which would give you 4 games in each, and it's a huge night. I mean, I think 4 games is about. I think probably even 4 games is about the minimum you need for a real slate.
My favorite is 6 to 8. It would be my favorite. Is my favorite slate.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's usually probably 4 to 6 because it's more game theory than it is. That's one I did well on FanDuel. I was actually really good at 2 game slates on FanDuel because not at the size that they are now. I'm talking about playing the single entries, with 1,000 people because you just kind of knew where people were going to land. It was so much easier to figure out, people are going to play this lineup or they're, people really don't like taking 2 people at the same position from one team. So like they wouldn't take 2 shooting guards from Portland or something like that. So you knew you could really get some variability by that. I actually think with MPE on DraftKings, you're not going to be able to get that variability in the short slates. So I don't know if I'm going to, I'll just play at FanDuel. If FanDuel runs those short slates, I've always thought FanDuel softer anyway. Like it's just a softer player. I mean, I think they've done better with the casual players over a period of time.
The casual player, that's not even a contest. Yeah. I don't know too many people that I'm friends with that were playing on DraftKings before I told them about it. I do have many friends who found their way onto FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the slate tomorrow night, and you're right. It's like I'm gonna have to play on FanDuel. I've always liked playing on DraftKings. I always thought late swap was fun. I do think that I felt over time that other people used it significantly better than me. So I mean, that's where I was going before. Is that I
guess for me, to say that committing your time to something should give you an advantage is fucking absurd. That's how everything is in life. It's all time commitment questions.
Yeah, but the problem, and I've been bringing this up for years, is that when the gap grows between the amount of time needed for a casual player and the amount of time that put in by a casual player and a professional player grows, that kills the sport. Is that, yes, people need to be able to have to put in research, but when it requires hours and hours and hours, it will eventually kill it because people will say that's the reason they will use. People can explain losing it in a million different ways, but if they really feel outmatched, eventually when they say it to themselves, they may say it out loud. They quit. They're never coming back. I mean,
I get that. That's if you get a 0 on DraftKings, are you coming back?
Yes.
Like you're a new player. Why? If you get a 0 playing last year, I guess you're talking about only. But what about the casual fan that played last year?
No, but I mean, why have people keep playing on FanDuel? They've been playing forever on FanDuel.
No, I didn't do it. Again,
but that's kind of my point, which is like if you haven't experienced the 0, I could get how but I've experienced it. It's not that many. I do believe it's exploitable, like you're talking about, which is really exploitable in the mass multi-entry guys
which is going to suck. Which is, yeah, I mean that to me might mean that while DraftKings thinks they're going to take, I think more money is going to come off the site. I don't think it's going to actually help their problem.
Sometimes perception is more important than the reality, which is like I just was saying.
Players are going to play anyone from the 10 o'clock games if they can't see a lineup, ever. But the fact that a 10 p.m. guy is questionable and he's the high scorer of the slate, it will always be a not DK pro, but a pro who wins.
I mean, but like, isn't that like the easiest way to be contrarian now? Which is like, I'm going to play guys from the late night because I'm playing. This is why my point that it integrates with first place, which is I'm playing to win. I'm playing for the money up top. I'm not playing for min cashes.
I mean, tomorrow if they have to do a 7. I mean,
there's not one up yet.
It's just a 10-game slate where you're going to have 2 to 4 lineups out. And more importantly, the Milwaukee lineup, as I've alluded to, is going to change all season.
Right. What time is Milwaukee start?
8 o'clock games. We won't have that. We won't know if Jabari's playing the 4, if Tony Snell's playing the 3, or sitting, if Brogan's playing. I mean, it's just going to be a mess. But
to my point about the perception over the reality, which is that if somebody gets a 0, they're like, bad luck, shitty information. I get it. I mean, I've gotten 0s before, and at first you're like, but that's the game. When you feel like you're literally outmatched, outgunned, that like these guys are making chess moves, throughout the night, you're playing against these guys who are just setting up to beat you. You're defeated. Like you're defeated by your opponent instead of by bad luck.
Agreed. But 100%, I don't think there is any world where you could say that the advantage from late game swap is a bigger advantage than multi-entry. And they just,
Well, I think My feeling with multi-entry, which is I'm kind of,
and I'm not again, Cal and I had a long conversation. We disagree about it. But with multi-entry, to me, 150 is an improvement because it used to be 500. Why the hell do you need more than 10 in any contest? Obviously to fill these crazy prize pools. But why 10 lineups? There's going to be.
No, I think, again, you want to talk about it for the millionaire maker, do whatever the fuck you want. Because if you want to win $1 million, you're going to have to just deal with whatever the circumstances are there. But like, if you want to play the $3 tournament, I mean, you and I have talked about it.
First off, as soon as you get this is, by the way, you need to adopt this if you're talking about bum hunting and players because of, ass hatting or assigning as I guess it would be called. In the $3, for instance, why is there not a rule that as soon as your upcoming lineups feature $1,000 total dollars, you are withdrawn from anything 10 or less?
There are many ways to look at it.
That I would love. I mean, if you want to,
I would just be like, can we go with 1%?
What?
I just don't like when I'm looking at a 10,000 person thing and it's still 150.
I don't like percent because at the end of the day, and this is something I bring up like often, and it's still we've never really gotten to the bottom of it. Like on a site like tonight on FanDuel, for instance, if it's a 2-game slate on a site like FanDuel, how many possible lineups can you create? Doing factorials and shit, you find out that 150 is a bigger advantage on a 2-game slate in terms of getting the ideal lineup than a 15. The limits don't change based on the slate size, and that's always been something I've had a problem with.
Yeah, I think FanDuel FanDuel is a different animal because of the fact that you have to take 2 players at a position, and it really locks you into a lot fewer combinations than DraftKings does. So I agree with you, but I also again think there's game theory. If you're going to play a 2-game slate with more than 1,000 or 2,000 people, you're already gambling. I mean, that's like when the whole gambling DFS argument is going down.
As soon as you come up with the second lineup, you're gambling because you're saying, I'm not confident in my first one. I'm going to put a little bit in this. I get it. I know that it's a part of our industry, but it continues to be ignored and everything else continues to be adjusted to make up for the fact that is what's killing the new player. You can sugarcoat it as much as you want, but that's also the single biggest turnoff to a new player.
I don't
someone in the top who has 150 lineups.
Yeah, I also believe in trains too. Like trains need to go away. Like that was something that I think Stars or somebody got rid of.
But yeah, even there it was then okay. Well, for football, I'll have 30 different defenses. But it does create a difference, which is good.
Yeah, well, I think that's demoralizing when you're in the top and you see somebody jump in front of you with a. I know some guys who are running 150. They were running 150 team trains in preseason, in the $3, and it's.
Again, I mean that price point thing. I mean, maybe I'll present it to them formally. There has to be a number which, when you're registered for that amount of contest, you have no business being in contests that are under a certain number. That's something that's been talked about for a while, but it was always talked about like, oh, you shouldn't be able to enter 10 if you've entered 100. Now, you got to find out a total number, but I think it's fair to say once you hit 4 figures in a particular slate, that you're withdrawn from everything that is single figures.
One solution is dependent on the other solution, which is like you're like, oh, if we reduce it down to 10 entries, then I don't care if it's, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the point is if Asani wants to put his 10 entries in there, that's fine. But you get my point is like it can't be both. It's like if you
I'm offering different solutions. It's just it's never about that. It's never about multi-entry or about big guys playing small dollar values when those are the 2 biggest problems in my opinion. And they're always just not addressed.
Right, well, I am of the opinion overall is that the goal is that they want to take the money out of the winning players' pockets and put it in their own pockets because they know that
I don't think removing late game swap will do that, but like you said, removing top heavy prizes will do that certainly.
But if you combine the two, like it'll also dissuade, like we were talking about before, so it can dissuade some MME, which is like it's. I think they're playing with buttons and dials here to some extent.
No, I get it. Like I said, people aren't going to MME if you need to come in third. If third equals your money back on MME, you know what I mean?
Right. So I mean, if I worked at one of these companies, that would be the most important thing. Is I would be looking at where my money is flowing out and trying to cut the edge of every player who is taking money off the site, because on a consistent basis, it's either consistent winners or it's the guys who get the money for first prize. And that's
Right.
and I don't know. Well, that was our DFS argument. So I get your point about not being unhappy about late swap going on. I'm okay with it because I think it was hurting me. I think I'm better in the game theory and game selection, saying I'm not going to play against these guys who can use it against me, and I'll play some smaller slates.
I would just say to make a living without starting with like a 6-figure bankroll, it's a huge detriment to try to grind up a couple thousand into 5 figures.
I just don't think they care about to make a living.
No, I mean, you've told me that for years, Mike. For a couple of years now. I know that.
Well, but that's when I read these. Your better argument is like what you said, which is, hey, you're taking away a skill in the game, and that. I think they don't care about that anymore. I think that they have successfully fought that argument in New York and Massachusetts to prove that it is a skill game. Like when that whole argument was going on, I said, there's a big difference in skill level between a head-to-head contest and a two-game 80,000 person NBA slate.
But I think if anyone who is as ingrained in the industry as us really wanted to hurt it, they could. I mean, again, at the same time, there are those people on Twitter, every week saying, "Oh, I'm going to release this." You had Gaby say he was going to do something that was going to fuck everything up, and they never do. So
I don't think that shit is going on anymore. Like I think the stuff that really could have hurt DFS has already come and gone.
I just think if you had a court case over game of skill with informed DFSers who were for some reason against DFS. Yeah, you could clearly convince a group of people that don't understand. If I argued with you and your argument was explaining all the skill involved, and my argument was why there isn't a game of skill, why it doesn't deserve that distinction, I think I'd win to people who aren't already ingrained in it.
I think that they could then argue back, if we took out the rake, is it still a game of skill? Do you follow what I'm saying? Is like that's the tipping point, which is that when the rake cuts into the edge, goes over that line, that's where there's still a skill, but when the rake has climbed so high and they're removing the skill, they're making it their actions are making it.
I just simply mean for basketball alone, since that's the exclusion that DraftKings gave, it would be very easy to show lawmakers that basketball is the only sport that at 7 p.m. you only have lineups for 7 and maybe 7:30, and explain what it means. Your decision at lock time is this. Is that skill?
Couldn't FanDuel just trot out their results of players over the last 6 years and go, here you go. Here's McJester. Here's so-and-so. Here's this guy who used those exact same parameters and was able to crush it.
Yes, and that would be a Hillary Clinton trap, because then you'd explain how these are the guys that are putting in 150 lineups a night, and you would go down that road. I'd never wish anything bad to happen to DFS. I just think all the challenges we've had have been from such ignorant people without an understanding that we're lucky.
Yeah, well, my argument is that those challenges are over. Like, I really think the game of skill argument, we talked about this last time we did a show, is that you were going to go when it would get voted on in Pennsylvania for some more, regulation.
Yeah, I didn't like where the Massachusetts regulations left everything, because even the Massachusetts regulations include no late game swap.
Well, that might be why it could be.
Oh, because they were able to, I think, get that out of it. It's in the original document, but something about it wasn't included in the final piece. Because that was for all sports. Lineups lock at the first start. You do it for basketball, not for hockey.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if late game swap went away from everything after football.
Yeah, I mean, and I would understand it more if that. I would not understand it more. I would give more credence to their explanation that you don't necessarily believe. It would seem more practical, and it would be more believable if they were to do it for every sport. By just doing it to NBA.
Oh, there's no argument.
You're saying we want everyone to break. Like, that's all you're saying. We don't want to.
Well, yeah, and the other part about with football is like, you'll put into the exact same lineups and be like, I'll switch these guys at 4:00.
Yeah.
But I think that there are more people that are willing to do that in football than they are casual players than in basketball.
Yeah, I just think here's the craziest part about all of it. In basketball, there's only a 3.5 window between first game starting and last game starting. In football, it's 7.5 hours.
Well, they don't have the Sunday night games anymore.
They don't have
So
Sunday night anymore? Yes, they do.
I don't. Yeah, oh, you might be right. I
didn't get paid till after the Seattle game last night, so.
Yeah, you're right. I was wondering why I didn't get paid early. It was like, wait, oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. I thought they got rid of Sunday night.
All of this is that the explanation, the rationale, and the real none of them actually add up. It's a lot of doublespeak going on.
To me, it's like I don't listen to what the effect that DraftKings is willing to discuss something when they won't normally discuss anything means you really shouldn't listen to what they're saying, because when there's a topic that's juicy that we want to have a back and forth on, they don't want to discuss it. Like I wish that somebody would have countered them with the argument that I said, and I actually wanted to put it in the forums, and it's just too hard to explain in text. You were able to get it here, which is, hey, they just looked where the money went and said, let's get rid of the guys who were getting.
I never look at it like I don't have a natural business sense the way you do, in terms of being the guys at the top running a business. So that's very eye opening, and it appears to be exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean it's for me. Like when we talked about, you're like, you're playing tonight. I'm like, my action this year is going to be limited. I don't even know if I'm going to go above $10 games. Like,
no, I have not yet decided. Other than that, this isn't not a career anymore, because you depend on that, unless you have the gambling gene that I don't.
I don't even think. I don't even think the gamblers, like there's so many guys I think that are basically done with this. Like, not done with this. They don't realize there's too many.
But I guess because the sport is basketball, and because in a cocky way, I don't believe there are 10 other people in the industry that you could all put in a room that would stop me from entering the room as the top 10 group in terms of understanding all 30 teams in the league, the dynamics, and how it affects fantasy. Which in retrospect, had they just done this late game swap thing, like had announced it 3 months ago, I would have sold out, taken a tout job, and written shit and never played. To be honest.
I get it, well, but I mean, that was a part of where I was going, which is that, there's an oversaturation of touts.
Let's have this discussion right now live.
Okay.
Because I brought it up on Twitter. I was intrigued. Groups of 2 touts from each site.
Right.
Best and worst. Because now Roto-Grinders is no longer a concentration of lots of basketball talent.
Well, Notorious is pretty damn good.
And as you look at my Twitter, I said, who's the number 2 behind Notorious? It's probably either Hoop or Dean, and they're good. Yeah. But when you look at the amount,
Hoop doesn't play GPPs, so it's really hard for me to understand how good Hoop is. Like, I don't know how good guys are who don't play GPPs, because I don't play cash, and if I did. I mean,
2 seasons ago, when I had my incredible season where I was playing, big money and every night in multiple slates. He and I were both probably 2 years ago, not last season, the year before, both probably cashing actually over 60% of cash games. I found his name come up a lot in the money when I would evaluate it.
All right. So who are the other crews? I mean, I guess you have Leone and Dink.
So you have that. Yes. So you have at Daily Roto, you have Dink and Leone.
Okay.
At Fantasy Elite, you have, I guess I would go with Jeff and Benny, because I'm not giving Tommy any basketball credit.
Jeff and Benny at Fantasy Elite. Okay.
I guess at Roto, Ricky and Josh are still at RotoCurve.
Well, what about Kevin at Fantasy Elite?
Huh?
Kevin why isn't Kevin the main guy? Who's the main guy?
No fucking idea.
Kevin Adams. Well, I can't think of his. You'll know his
Magic Sports. Yeah.
Yes, he's pretty good at NBA.
Yes, he might be. He might be better than Benny. I personally talk about Benny.
I know you're friendly with Benny, so you would know Benny.
No, he might be. Jeff's probably the number 1. I was just going because his last tweet is Benny and Jeff get you ready for the NBA.
Okay, and then you said FanVice is Draft Sheet, and who is with? I mean, does it matter because DC? So DC quit. I hope I'm telling you right now, DC. I hope they paid you.
Yes, there is a clear number 2. And it leads me to our next question. Can you name 2 on Fantasy Insiders that you care about getting basketball advice from? And I love those guys.
Oh, because Lofty D is now the number 2.
Fan advice.
Yeah, I didn't even understand how that worked. I mean, I'm not sure. I've really kind of like ducked out of that because like I still saw him on the Fantasy Insiders podcast or series.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, they get paid at the beginning of the month till the 30th. So if you already got paid, you work. I don't know.
I know. Well, I mean, I can tell you this much: if a guy left me and was going to a different site, I wouldn't put him on the air to promote him for. That's just, again, I'm not. I love Lofty and I love Dave. So I mean, it's not. That's more a business curiosity.
So I was just putting up DC and Lofty, Notorious and Hoop, and Dink Leone are probably my 1 through 3, and then Elites. Elite would probably be 4. I want to know what Fantasy Insider's basketball product is going to look like.
The first thing that I would tell anybody who would want to know the answer to that question is, what do you play? What do you play? If you play cash games, you need to listen to an entirely different set of people than if you than you play GPPs. If you're playing GPPs, Draft Cheat is of all the guys out there is the guy for me. Is that the fact that.
So you're saying if you're a GPP player and you have money for a subscription package this year, you go to FanVice for basketball.
Well, the other thing you have to ask yourself is like, well, what about Fantasy Labs? Like Fantasy Labs,
I'm not including the tools or Crunchbase. I mean, they have great players behind them.
But because Fantasy Labs is kind of it's kind of a cross. I mean, they do offer, they just don't do live shows, but they do have articles and stuff. But again, maybe it's not entirely the same. But for me, it's DC. I mean, I love Dink. Dink is one of my favorite players. I love Leone as well. It just. Their style, their cash game, they're more of cash game players than they are GPPs. Not that they don't score well in GPPs and stuff. Just it's like I can literally watch Dink logging off right now. No,
he's the fucking World Series. He's not paying any attention.
Yeah, well, he's got 9 screens up. When you're a gazillionaire. I'm just kidding. No, but that's part of my point, which is like I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to touting is that. Who is the person that is talking to you? What do they play most? Like for football, I read Davis Maddox a column, and I believe Davis has gone too much to playing cash and not GPPs to be of a lot of help to me, especially in football, which is where I like.
Good block. It's probably coming up on your TV in 1 second.
I think I missed it. Who was it?
Who has the ball right now?
It's 62. It's 61-49 right now on my screen.
The ball, the Knicks or Cleveland now.
It's right now the Knicks have the ball.
All right, well, look for a huge block, and you could be a full possession and a half behind. This is crazy. New York,
maybe
hanging tough.
Or maybe New York's about their second unit though. Like, oh yeah, okay, I saw it.
Yeah, you're a good 30 seconds behind, but yeah, that was a pretty nice block. No, it's just I guess
that black guy. I wish he could have eaten the ball in the air because he caught it. It looked like he literally could have swallowed it. Like meal.
No, it's just intrigued with all the new sites popping up and new people,
it's really only FanVice and
what I mean is Lofty leaving Insiders for FanVice, Benny leaving RotoCurve for Elite, Jeff leaving Roto Grinders for Elite. You have a lot of
I actually didn't. I didn't follow touts for basketball because I trusted my own.
Yeah, it's the one sport that I have no idea who's a good tout as opposed to a good player because I don't listen to anyone. I understand the league well enough, and if there's something I have a question about, I'll usually go to the people I can access who have, in Dink or DC, and there's no one going to say better than them.
The other part about it when you play GPPs, and this is the thing that will drive people crazy, and this was my point when I did well in golf, is that sometimes if you get it wrong, but not so wrong, like maybe you're not thinking entirely right, but like everybody's using the same fucking statistics. So like if you unplug from those statistics a little bit, it's going to give you a better.
Yeah, well, it was a conversation DC and I had maybe 2-3 years ago about RotoGrind when he was at RotoGrinders. About their DVP rankings because they didn't factor in. It was like the idea of not factoring in minutes that you play against that position. if you don't start a center and the team you're playing against doesn't start a center, and they're listed as a power forward, but they're playing the 5, if you're not including those numbers, then if you only play a center against a center for 10 to 15 minutes in a game, of course your DVP is going to look the most, but not if it's not factored into how many minutes you played against the center.
Agreed.
And there were a lot of people that were fucking that up like 3 years ago over using the Roto Grinders DVP tool. And even today, I mean, I'm sure Notorious wrote a really good rundown of tonight's game, and I'm sure it includes things like DVP and usage based on last year or based on preseason, which you include because, why not have the information? But people who are going to hone in and say, oh, they're green in this section, I need to play them, don't understand what they're doing.
Yes. No, I my argument, and it actually extends especially into NFL, where there's so much content.
Block Party's going nuts on both ends now.
Where it basically comes down to being wrong in GPPs is not it's not actually the enemy. I mean, although the chalk is hit so much, but like using the same data that everybody uses.
Volleyball blocked him. Oh my god! Sorry, I'll get excited about volleyball blocks.
LeBron literally looked like he could have taken a knife and fork out when he made that.
Also because he had his mouth blown up and puffed out.
Who's that, JR? Oh, that was the Porzingis block.
The 2-hand like volleyball over the net block. Yeah, that was nuts.
Well, that was J.R. Smith being an idiot.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
I get it.
Yeah, let me. I mean, how did you? I just watched the.
I'm actually going to go to the bar at 10 so I can watch that damn game because I want to see the Utah-Portland game.
It is on League Pass. I have League Pass. I'll give you my League Pass subscription information at some point because I rarely use it.
Yeah,
well, I wasn't even going to get it this year, but for whatever reason, I decided to.
We didn't just to talk with you about. What do you think about some of the teams in the West? Because we mostly figured we went through a bunch of the divisions in the East. I didn't know.
Well, we talked about Portland. We talked about Utah. We talked about the Spurs. We talked about Golden State. We talked a little bit about Minnesota. Memphis. I don't understand what the hell is going. What about who?
I mean, the Clippers will be the preseason 3 seed, right? It's
sure.
1, 2, then a big drop off, then 3, and then a big drop off. Or do you think that Portland and Utah have caught up with the Clippers?
Yeah, I think you got another year older on Chris Paul, and I don't think you still have those gigantic holes at 2 and 3 there, and that's
you're actually going to be starting Bamute.
Yeah, Again, I don't understand it. I don't think the Clippers are very good. I think the Clippers are going to play. I think the Clippers are going to get caught up in the season. Like I think they're going to finish like 5th or 6th. I don't think they're going to 4th or 5th. The reasoning is that they're a playoff team. Like they're a team that you're better off resting. You have an older Chris Paul. There's just no reason to try to sprint out for one game. You're better off being healthy for the postseason. And I don't know. I think they moved Blake Griffin. I think they're going to.
The next thing they did this offseason was at least get more protection for Blake should something happen, and that they drafted Bryce Johnson 25 and they got Brandon Bass as well as Maurice Spates. So they got depth at power forward.
Now, right, but but 2 and 3 is just a black hole on that team. And,
with Redick and
it's just not a team.
12 years, yeah.
And you got older Crawford. You got older. I mean, all these guys. Nobody wants to take into account that a year older matters. I mean, at some point it starts to dip off, and you get guys who are coming into their prime. Lillard is coming into his prime. Like I don't think that people are giving that man enough credit. I think that he has all of the skills of a superstar. He is, that clutch gene that Dean hates to talk about. Like, I like this guy.
I don't want to hear anything about Damian Lillard and clutch gene. Do you see what I'm fucking wearing, you asshole?
Yeah. Yes, I do. What's the guy that hit?
Remember that?
Yes, remember.
I had tickets theoretically for Game 7 in Houston, and they were up in Game 6 in Portland, and then he hit that shot. Yeah.
Yes. Wasn't that the same series where who was the D-League guy who hit the Troy Daniels?
Troy Daniels, yeah.
Yeah,
and it was Chandler Parsons D'ing him up, and Chandler Parsons is like my least favorite Rocket ever. And every team has now realized he's a sack of shit, even if you're
yes, I understand.
some way that
Yes,
you knew who he was.
yeah, I mean, we went to high school with my girlfriend. No, but yes, I agree. Joel Chandler Parsons hasn't been healthy in years, and
So you're looking at the Clippers, and whereas everyone else clear 1 and 2 in the conference, right?
there's a perfect guy that they could have gotten too. Chandler Parsons, if he was healthy, to play on that team would have been to space the floor, and I mean, he is.
Well, that's I was kind of trying to bring that in that they haven't really overhauled their roster at all.
And Dallas, I mean, Dallas is
Dallas is a bad team this year. I have them finishing 11th, I think.
The problem with that team is that they have a good coach and they have some wily players, and like, so I think Dallas is going to eke in like an 8 seed. I just do. I just think
Why?
Because of that. Which is,
keep in mind that Utah and Minnesota both have to make the playoffs this year, right?
I don't think Minnesota makes the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess they don't have to because their win total was like 40 and a half. So you're right.
I think Minnesota's a great team. I think they're going to play. They're a great team in the making. I think that crunch time can be an issue for that team because if you have somebody who can defend Cat, which is hard, but then I don't like the rest of that team in crunch time. I don't like Wiggins in crunch time yet. I don't like Rubio in crunch time. I don't like Levine or Dieng, and I just don't like those guys at the end of the game. Like I like Cat, so I think that's what's going to hurt them.
You really think that Dallas is going to eke out the 8th seed?
It's Carlisle. I mean, that's really what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, second or third longest tenured team.
I do. I do because they're not significant.
I think the Harrison Barnes signing that everyone's going to make fun of the money that makes them a better team.
What makes them a better team?
Harrison Barnes makes, as much as we're going to make fun of the money that someone's going to put out for Harrison Barnes, he makes them a better basketball team. He's an upgrade on Chandler fucking Parsons.
Well, Chandler didn't play last year, so I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that like Wes Matthews, if he's healthy, is a pretty, again, he's not an old guy. He just got hurt. So if Wes Matthews can play, they have enough idiots at point guard who are capable, especially under
Maria and Devin Harris as well.
Right, and I think that they have Powell is a reasonable backup at power forward, and Bogut is not given enough credit for the 25 minutes that he could, and I don't know how many minutes he's going to play there.
They need to basically cut a small forward and pick up a center.
Well, I know a team that has a lot of those.
I do too, but I mean, Salah Mejri shouldn't be your backup center.
No, but you can find it. I mean, if there's any position you can find it.
35 minutes a night. So I think they still have a move to make, being that they have 4 small forwards.
Yes, I agree, but I'm believing in the coach there. And again, you're going to look at a team I think that's going to be borderline.
Yeah, I think that's a team that this was a weird year in that last season. The East was better than the West. I mean, 41-41 made the playoffs in the West. As your last, I think Houston finished 500, made the playoffs. Traditionally, you have to finish with 45, 46 wins to be in the West over the last 5 years.
And a team like Phoenix is interesting. You know what I mean? Like Phoenix is interesting.
Sure, interesting. Every team's interesting. Are you proposing that they're going to make a playoff run?
No, but they're gonna play teams tougher, and they're not going to be an easy win every night. I think with Bledsoe back, and if they're healthy up front, like I think that Booker's turning into a legit star theoretically. I don't think they're just a walkover. I think the Clippers can lose to them twice. Like I think that can happen. Like I
don't think they're a walkover, but I don't think they.
I'm just saying that.
I mean, they potentially have a very, very good and underrated bench if their rookies step it up.
But the
fact that they're starting Jared Dudley power forward when both of their draft picks should end up being better than Jared Dudley.
They will be. Like I think that right now, they do have a first-year coach.
Barbosa and Brandon Knight that's a good backup backcourt.
Right, exactly. Well, they can also move a piece too, which I mean, I think that if they wanted to,
let Archie Goodwin go. So yeah.
Well, they can move Bledsoe. They say they don't want to, but like, Yet again, I know a team that would like him. And then
but I think you got to make him a backcourt. You got to. I mean, if you're going to do it right now, because Devin Booker needs to have his point guard for the future playing with him for like consecutive years.
Eric Bledsoe is not the point guard for Devin Booker, though. He's
no,
not.
But they don't have him on the roster unless you think Tyler Ulis is.
I don't know. I just, yeah, that's a reasonable point. Like, I don't know. I love Eric Bledsoe. I just don't know if they're a match made in heaven, those two.
And I think Ulis might be. I mean, if I recall, Ulis is small, right? He's under 6 feet.
The Rockets. Now the Rockets, on the other hand, like if Pat Beverly were healthy.
Oh, you're gonna say they're good? You're gonna give me a compliment?
I love getting an A. I really do. I really love getting an A. And I think Eric Gordon hasn't been healthy in years. Although pairing him with James Harden is like the most.
Yeah, having that be your backcourt is terrifying.
It's like, go get Tyreek Evans and just call it a day, and like you can all just run at the basket and throw the ball up there. No, I and that brings me to another team, which is New Orleans, which is like, who are they? Like, I mean,
what? They're good.
They might be. I mean, I don't think they are, but I mean, Tim Frazier is not really gonna scare people.
But sure, but when he, when Tim Frazier, Buddy Hield, and Terrence Jones are coming off the bench, that's better.
Much better. No, they're a better. Well, obviously, when you have a healthy Anthony Davis, they're a much better team. He's an all, he's a superstar. So, they're
a much better team than last season, because I do.
Well, but that's where, when we talk about like who's going to make the playoffs, it's like Utah and Minnesota and even they can lose to some of the crappier teams. Whereas I think that Dallas will find a way to kind of get those victories.
No, and I do not.
Not again. We're talking about opinions
here, man. Yeah. And we can make some avatar or goofy bets about it later. But I just think Dallas is going to suck. I think Dallas is a much more likely road to winning 30 games than winning 50.
Well, they're not winning 50 games. I mean, that wasn't my point.
They have zero shot at 50 games. Can you be confident that they're going to finish over 500?
No. I mean, what's the over under total? You just asking me.
Probably 38.5. They're projected to be the 10th seed, I think.
Yeah, I would bet the over on Dallas. Again, I am that. Yes, that is right around the number. I think they will finish right around,
Last year they were 42-40, something like that.
Yeah, so that's exactly about what I think they'll finish this year. Almost exactly, and I think that'll make the playoffs, because I think it's so competitive at the bottom of the West that's the issue. Is that you don't get as many easy games as you do in the East. I think there are more bad.
Oh no, Shump's hurt.
I'm behind. It's still a 15-point game. I wonder what the line was on this game.
17 now. Yeah, I mean, when you look at, you get 8 teams to make the playoffs, all right? Last year, the teams that didn't make the playoffs that theoretically have a chance, there's 1 or 2. So it's just talking about Golden State's going to make the playoffs, the Spurs are going to make the playoffs, the Clippers are going to make the playoffs. Those are 3 teams that are guaranteed to make the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yes, I think the Rockets could miss the playoffs.
I mean, Oklahoma City could miss the playoffs. The Rockets could miss the playoffs.
We haven't even Oklahoma City,
Houston, Dallas, and Memphis. 4 of the teams in the playoffs last year are all worse.
Yes. Memphis, I don't know. Memphis is one of those teams. I don't know what the hell they're doing there.
And we only have 2 teams in Minnesota and the Jazz that are expected to take a huge step up, with 4 expected to take a big step back. So you're right. Dallas could stay in the playoffs.
And it's about the coach. Like, that's a perfect example.
Making the playoffs this year.
If you were taking a bet of who has more wins, Memphis or Dallas, which team?
Even last year?
Well, I'm just saying this year. Who do you think is going to have more?
What I'm saying is they both finished with the same record last season.
Right. So this year, I mean, I think, again, I'm going with the coach, Carlisle, who's like, it's like saying,
I will take that bet straight up with you. for a future prize to be deemed, not money, something stupid or degrading.
I think I told you about this last year. I think the second game in, Neer and I bet straight up a decent amount of money, not ridiculous, but enough that it mattered. He took Golden State to break the record. Even
Oh
money.
yeah, I remember this. Yes.
Even money. I can't help. I'm getting killed on bets where I get the right side of the price and then lose. I just paid off my bet to Birdwings where he gave me 2.5 to 1 on the Republicans August 15th of last year.
Yeah.
So you got August 15th. The line was 150 at the line. I got 250 and still got crushed.
Well, what do you mean get crushed? It's not over.
I bought out.
Oh.
Are you kidding me? It's over. It's over. Like,
yeah, but there were times you could have tried to get him to buy out.
I did. He said he almost took it. He almost took it.
There was a flux that shouldn't mean this is the first time that discussion is going on.
No, it got to a point where I just wanted it over with. I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose. I don't want to root for Trump on any level, so let me just buy out of the bet.
I probably keep that bet in so that if I wake up and I want to commit suicide because Trump wins, I realize, hey, I still get a couple $100 extra. But no, I mean, I think
I have to admit, when I made the buyout offer, I thought my price was plus 200, not plus 250. So I'd already made the buyout offer and we agreed on it. Had I known it was 250, I would have kept it. That's basically what it came down to. It was that narrow of a window, but I just wanted to be out of it. And he was like, I can't believe you're as honest as this is to hunt me down and make sure you pay me and you buy out. Like, you can see it in the tweet. It was August 15th of last year. 14 months later, I'm like, here's your money. Let's just be done.
Let's see. I mean, if you want to do a Memphis I'll take Memphis. You take Dallas, and we'll come up with something funny to bet on it. No, but also we got to. Can we get Drew? Will Drew ever do an app? If he doesn't like Indiana, man, we gotta get a bet with him so that we can possibly do it at the end of the season.
Indiana has a better chance of finishing second than they do seventh.
That I won't agree with, because we've also talked about the fact that 7 games could separate second from seventh. I don't think there's enough to say that confidently for me.
I guess. I mean, I also think that Boston is less dependent on one player as much as Indiana is. So, like, if Paul George goes down, that's it for Indiana. Whereas you could take any player off of Boston.
At the same side, though, Atlanta and Charlotte, who are the 4 and the 6 seeds, got significantly worse.
Yeah, I might
teams that missed the playoffs last year that are being given credit in the East are, I guess Orlando will be better, but no one knows that they're a playoff team. The Wizards were supposed to make the playoffs and started horrible. And the Bulls, but it really is 9, 10, 11. Like the 3 that were on the bubble are the 3. The Bucks, Knicks, Nets, and Sixers have no shot.
True.
So you have 11. Yeah. So you got 11 teams competing for 8. So you're going to have 3 left out. I actually would probably cut the Magic right out of that because I think the Oladipo thing really hurts them. So if it's 10 competing for 8, who are the 2 to miss the playoffs? It could be a team like Atlanta or Charlotte that drops out. Sure. I don't think it's the Pacers.
Atlanta is a weird team where, like, Dwight Howard is one of the best players in basketball when he decides to be. No, I really mean that. Like, I mean that there are nights when you watch Dwight Howard and you're like, wow. And then there are nights where you're like, this guy just isn't here. And I feel like there's a motivation factor with him that he hasn't had in years and years. Maybe if he finds, will do something for Atlanta. I don't think so. But, he's infuriating as a basketball fan to watch all that talent and just watch him just not care on a lot of nights. And
yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I mean, playing with Kobe and James Harden can do that to you, though. It could. I mean,
he's also now playing in the division he used to play in, so maybe there's a little bit more. I mean, Atlanta and Orlando are in the same division, I believe. He'll be playing against his old coach in Stan Van Gundy at times, so maybe there'll be more in this league. He'll get a little bit more up and be more involved in it. Who knows?
Oh yeah. I think it'll be fun.
These are all just reaching for narratives to help him out, to be honest.
No, but
he is. I mean, his old division.
Yeah, but,
so maybe when they play Orlando, those 2 games, he'll be a little more fired up than he would be for an average season.
For DFS purposes, when you try to highlight players who people want to write off but can give you a win in a GPP, Dwight Howard's one of those guys that you want to mix in. If you're,
he's probably like the second or third, the probably third most likely guy to get 20 rebounds on any given night.
And he's also, but he's not. He hasn't been priced.
No,
that
that's
level.
exactly.
Yeah.
He'll be priced in the mid to upper range, but he'll be 1,500 less than Cat probably at points this season.
Exactly. That's kind of my point, which is he's a good pivot in spots, and I think that people will forget a lot about that. And I'm looking at tonight. Like, I have no Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie's got like 40 fantasy points already.
Yeah, but we'll see. Is he going to come back in the game after he sits? They're up 18.
Yeah, I don't know. LeBron's in that, but I also have LeBron everywhere, and LeBron only has, 40.
I'd expect everyone to come out at the TV 8-minute timeout.
What does LeBron have? 19. I'm doing DraftKings points. 19 and 18, 37. He's got 47. I mean, I really needed LeBron to get
60.
Yeah, 60, 55, 60. I mean, again, anybody who plays.
Supposed to be 5 more offensive possessions, so you never know for him at least.
I didn't even look on FanDuel to see how highly owned he was in that 3-man. Like, I mean that the 300,000. I want to see. I only had $32 in entries on FanDuel tonight, and I am cashing 0 right now, so that's good.
Well, it's a 3-game slate, and for at least 10% of almost the entire cash line is people who stack this game.
He's only 54% owned.
What do you mean only?
I mean only. How many small forwards could you play tonight? Really?
Evan Turner, Kawhi Leonard.
I think Evan Turner was he a small forward?
No, he's a small forward.
Well, I mean, I played Kawhi Leonard. I meant you couldn't play Kevin Durant. I mean, you for $300 left.
Oh yeah, sure. But you could decide that you wanted to pay up at point guard and at power forward, and therefore not play LeBron and pay down for a Kawhi Leonard or an Evan Turner.
I'm not saying. I just when you look at, I guess I expected more. I don't know. I thought he was you're right, and I wonder what.
You only get 2. There are 6 starters and 2 backups at each position for that position. So there are 8. There's a player to choose from, and you only get 2.
Carmelo is 25% owned. So that should give Kyrie Irving was 50% owned.
That's actually kind of surprising, and I think that's probably more people wanting to watch.
I don't even know what that is. Kevin Love was 31% owned. Kristaps was 40% owned. They were about the same price. I think Porzingis will play more in the 4th, but who the hell knows?
It is the 4th. There's 9 minutes left in the game.
No, I mean, I think he'll play more of the rest of the game than.
He's out of the game right now, and they're down by 19. I don't even know that he'll come back.
Boo! Well, I have him in my lineups.
It's a 3-game opening slate.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's like you literally can't miss. Like you can't miss. Like you can't. Like if him and Love are the same price, and there's a 9-point difference, that's huge.
Yes,
like I know it doesn't sound like it. I mean, I guess with 50% of the field owning Kyrie, I mean, I have George Hill pretty much everywhere because I said I like George. I just think that George Hill is a good compliment in Utah, and that he's being used more properly than he was in Indiana. Well, not even that. They need him to shoot more.
That's what I was going to say. It's less about, I think, a conscious change and more just what the situation calls for. I mean, that's a team that point guards back-to-back years before that trade. They got Burke and then Exum.
Yeah, I mean,
how about that MCW draft now that looked like going to be such a strong point guard draft? It goes Burke, McCollum, and MCW, and 2 of them just bust the fuck out.
Yeah, I think the person you didn't mention on Boston is Rozier, who had a really good preseason, and which also can allow them to make a move. Or
the very last line of my Atlantic thing was, about Rozier, and also saying that to start the season, Marcus Smart won't be active, so Rozier is going to play 25 to 30 minutes in those first couple games.
Yeah, I think they move Marcus Smart. I think he's a very tradable asset.
We were going to take him.
Yeah,
I still would have taken him for Ja in the middle of the season or off season.
Well, guess what? That trade may still happen.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's basically the trade right now is Marcus Smart and a first rounder for Ja and some other garbage.
Covington, right? That was what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it.
Covington fits their team.
I mean, they were going to trade Covington and Nerlens for Schroeder. I like that trade. That trade I liked.
No.
Nerlens is gone. Nerlens is a zero. He's at the end of his contract. He ain't putting up with his shit anymore.
No, I know, and because of yes, at this point you're right. The fact is, I still believe Nerlens has significantly more value in this league, and to any team that's going to build an identity around him than fucking Jahlil Okafor.
Oh, the good thing about Okafor, it's just about.
I'm boring in basketball. If I'm building a team, oh look at those shoes they're showing on. I have those, the left ones.
No,
the Paisley London ones? The Air Force ones are good. You can see some Air Forces on your screen. They're Paisley Shop in London sold them, and I own the pair on the left. Sorry, I got really excited. They never show shoes like that. Sorry, where were we at?
I have no idea.
Again, this is fucking my head up.
We were talking about Ja. No, well, the thing with Jahlil is that he's much more a team that gets him can sell that to their fan base more. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
I guess what I was saying before I saw the shoes was I'm boring in basketball in terms of how I would construct a team. I think that if you want to compete and you don't have many pieces to start, the easiest way to become competitive in the NBA is to slow down games and become a good defensive half-court team. All those years in Indiana and Chicago were just playing slow basketball. They were the only, and Memphis, they were making the playoffs every year as the only three teams to run a significantly slower pace than the rest of the league. I think you can control things more. And I thought that when they drafted Nerlens and they got rid of Drew for a slower point guard who was less of a point, MCW, that they were going to build their team around a defensive identity. And then Jahlil happened. So when they were going in that direction,
is back in the game.
Yes, you're right. I can admit that. You are right. Yeah, so 3 years ago, I thought when they were building this rebuild based on that first offseason and draft, this was very much about building a defensive identity. And then they let Thaddeus go, and they started taking guys who could only play the offensive side of the ball. And now we offensive teams, we always have been for the last three the worst defensive team. So I didn't understand the point of Nerlens if you weren't going to build around defensive identity. And they didn't. So now you're right, he is able to be moved, but do I think they could have been a successful defensive? Not that, again, I'm not going to try to, I was wrong to some extent on MCW, though I never, valued him the way people who would say, oh, he's the rookie of the year. Yeah, well, he's the worst rookie of the year all time other than Mike Miller. We all understand that. It was based on just volume, but.
Yes. I mean, he could, the problem is that his.
The turnstile on defense? No, I don't.
No,
he could. Taught it. He needs to be taught to stay home a bit more, but his body gives him such an advantage on one-on-one matchups defensively. So I just saw him and Nerlens coming to the team in the same year, and we're starting to rebuild this. Okay, we're going to build a half-court defensive basketball team.
I mean, but the issue now is that can you play – I mean, Nerlens and Embiid can't play with each other. I don't think. I mean, Nerlens is a better center, and they just can't play with each other. I mean, maybe.
Sure, but I mean, for this season specifically – if Embiid's never going to play more than 25 minutes a game.
I think that Embiid is going to play more than 25 minutes a game. Yeah. I think they're going to unleash the beast that is Embiid. I really do. I don't think they have a choice. I think their plan was not to, and it was a part of the way to keep, to build the value of Nerlens and Ja. But with Simmons out, this is a PR game for the Sixers that they're playing right now. It really is. And I think that without Simmons, they're going to have to play Embiid more. And I think he wants it. And I think he'll get it. And I think he's the only guy you can build around on that team right now, other than Simmons, who's hurt. I mean, I really was always reluctant to be an Embiid fan, but when you look at the fact that Nerlens' offensive game isn't there, and Ja is, I don't like Ja at all. I just don't.
He's not he's the worst Al Jefferson possible.
He's Carlos Boozer, and that's always my answer with him, which is I and they're a dime a dozen, and get rid of him while his value's still there. And but we'll see what happens. Is there any team that we didn't cover?
I'm sure. I mean, we just went off and just had a fun conversation. Yeah, I mean, here, I'll get your thoughts on a couple of specific teams. We didn't mention the Lakers at all.
All right. I mean, the Lakers. I mean, we both hope that they just finish right around a spot where we can have their pick. That's Sixers have the Lakers pick next year, and it's top 3 protected again.
So their 24.5 Vegas line that has them finishing as the 4th worst team is perfect.
Yeah, but they still have a chance to move up into the lottery, which is like the garbage that we. But I mean, the Lakers. I think that they're going to
significantly better. I think.
Yeah, I mean they were a better team without Kobe. Yeah, and I think that
the only other guys they lost. I mean, they lost what? Ryan Kelly, Roy Hibbert, Robert Sacre, and Brandon Bass, and replaced them with. Not replaced them with, but they got Luol Deng and Jose Calderon as veterans, Brandon Ingram and Vika Zubac as their draft picks. And they actually had Thomas Robinson, who could be fun.
I think that they have that problem in the West that they're not a good team and they're going to be playing good teams a lot. Like I think they're going to be playing better teams a lot, and that's their issue, which is that I think Phoenix is a better version of what the Lakers have, and that they just don't have an advantage over almost any team in the NBA right now.
I think you're right, but I think where you're looking at a team like Brooklyn, where I could say they don't have a chance either, but they haven't improved. Whereas a team like the Lakers has significantly improved towards their goal of being competitive in 2 years.
Correct. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't even get a sniff from Kevin Durant, and I'm also surprised that I think they were one of the teams that was definitely holding out hopes for Westbrook and being a UCLA guys.
And they would have given up D'Angelo Russell and everything else, and just paired him with Randall as their future.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gotten a nice piece for Russell as well, and I do think that they may move Clarkson at some point. Just because he is one of their only tradable assets that they're willing to move. I think that they need to get Nick Young and Lou Williams off that team. I think that they should both can do better somewhere else and are not good for that squad. They don't.
Bringing back Meta World Peace, that's fun.
That's like bringing back Elton Brand. You know what I mean? Like that's
you know that, right? I'm not speaking in.
No, I know, and
but he did make the roster after all.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody that should have made it ahead of. I mean, he's not really. I mean, Meta World Peace and Paul Pierce aren't that far apart right now. At one point they were, but at one point they were actually close also. But LeBron got his triple double. All right, and you knew it was coming. I just thought he was going to get more points tonight.
He probably shouldn't have been in the game up 23 in the last 8 minutes, but hey. It's a home game. It's the open.
It's ring night. It's LeBron. I really didn't think it was Kyrie night. I didn't think Kyrie was going to take this many shots. I didn't, but it's just.
Oh my God, that's what that guy looks like. That's so cool.
But do you want another team we didn't
right now? I didn't know that's what he looked like.
Who?
Hold on, I gotta.
Oh, they got Birdman too. That's a good move for Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a nice. We didn't talk about Detroit, and I think Detroit, losing Reggie Jackson obviously is,
for the start of the season.
Yeah, for the start, I like Reggie Jackson, and I like Stan Van Gundy a lot, and I think that team has a lot of potential, and it can be a stick in the mud. Can give a lot of teams good games night in, night out. They're not just going to give up games, except for when Drummond is, 3 fouls in 4 minutes.
It's Boban Marjanovic comes in and does his thing.
Yeah, that's true. And who else they picked up Lure from Phoenix.
They picked up Lure. They picked up Boban. They drafted Henry Ellenson, who's a power forward, and then they added Ish Smith and Bino Udrih. Yeah, and the only loss they had on the entire team was really Anthony Tolliver. The other losses were people that made zero difference: Spencer Dinwiddie, Steve Blake, Lorenzo Brown, Joel Anthony. So they have gotten better. It'd be hard to say losing Tolliver and gaining those 5 guys is any way along.
You know what another team we didn't talk about is Washington.
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
I think Washington is it's almost an hour.
Detroit's going to be important to keep an eye on early in the season, with Ish Smith starting all those games.
Yeah, I don't. In the preseason, they really didn't unleash the Ish
no, they didn't play a fast pace at all.
So I don't.
Because they have. Marcus Morris is a slow, small forward.
Understood, and I think that Van Gundy's game is more
half
a
court.
half court slow game.
And you haven't. You have a rebounding advantage when you can put Marcus Morris, Tobias Harris, and Andre Drummond in your front court. So I think
they all can score. I mean, I think adding Boban and Lure is a big deal for them because they've added reasonable backups and guys who can score off the bench. They're just a little thin. They're a little too thin. Who's their backup shooting guard? Stanley Johnson.
Small forward. So backup shooting guard would be the guys they drafted. They drafted Hilliard and Gabinji.
Yeah, I mean, I just in a guard focused league. And
this is also Caldwell Pope played something like 38 fucking minutes a game last season, and they're trying to bring that number down. So it's going to be more of an emphasis at the weaker position. But I think that guy Gabinji will end up doing really, really well and playing in a role.
Certainly, they'd have a big problem if Caldwell Pope went out. They'd have nothing at guard.
Yes, that's their biggest.
Yeah, I mean that's
because Bino would probably play shooting guard because Ish and Reggie can't actually play shooting guard. But yes, but that's why the guy Gabinji will be a big part of that.
Well, again, I think Stanley Johnson might be able to play. I thought they ran him at shooting guard at some point last year. I know he's a power forward, but I really thought that
with Reggie Bullock, man. Reggie Bullock, who's the third small forward in the rotation, can also play shooting guard.
I'm looking at shifting over.
They finished 8th last year. I expect them to still make the playoffs because, as we've discussed, there are basically 4 teams that have gotten worse that were in the playoffs and 2 that have gotten better that weren't. So I don't expect too much movement. And even though they were 8, they aren't one of the teams that got worse. So if you're made the playoffs last year and you didn't get worse in the East, I think you're making it again.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very layman to say that, but I get it.
I kind of fashioned them towards the Dallas of the East, except for the East is a little weaker at the bottom. No, it's just weaker at the bottom. I don't think Van Gundy's as good a coach as Carlisle.
But there's no reason Detroit couldn't be the 4 seed this year is what I'm getting at. There's 100 reasons Dallas couldn't be the 4 seed.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's leagues at the top too.
But I don't think. I mean, I like Reggie Jackson a lot. If Reggie Jackson were healthy going into the season, I'd feel a lot differently.
But like we mentioned, between your Miami Heat were the 3rd seed last year, right? And they won 48 games. Chicago was the 8th seed at 44. So 4 games separated 3rd from 8th.
I think the Heat are better than you're giving them credit for. I'm just going to tell you that.
The Heat are better than I'm giving them credit for?
Yeah,
you're using the fact that they won 48 games in the 3 seed and Detroit at the 8 won 44. There were only 4.
Oh yeah, yes. But there was some shenanigans at the end of the season too.
Yes, because you had 4 teams finish with 48 wins. Remember, we were hoping it would work out so that Atlanta wouldn't play Boston right away. It almost worked out the way we wanted it. We did get a good Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yes, I wanted Boston, Cleveland.
Miami.
We wanted Indiana to play. We wanted LeBron to have to go through Indiana, Boston. Yeah.
Indiana, Boston, and Miami were who we wanted LeBron to have.
Yeah. Yes. And that because he would have had to play 3 small forwards who give him trouble. And that's ultimately in the East, that's what it'll come down to in the playoffs is to give anybody that's how you can look at it. When I want to make my bet on the Pacers is they could beat Cleveland. Not saying they're going to. I'm not saying they're a favorite on any stretch of the imagination. But when you give LeBron trouble, they're an entirely different team.
Oh, yeah. Do I believe that Indiana could be a favorite at home against Cleveland? Sure.
Yeah. And I also think that the main reason that Golden State lost last year is that Andre Iguodala was a year older. I really do. I think Andre Iguodala wasn't the player in the finals that he clearly wasn't the player that he was in the finals the previous year, but that was a big part of it. The reason they won the first year is
also Steph Curry just sucking for what?
Yes.
5 or 4 of the 7 games.
Yes, this is also true.
When your league MVP doesn't play like the best player on his own team for almost every game of the series, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, but they were still up 3-1. All right, last team is Washington, and Washington is one of those they're right there with Detroit to me. Like they're like
team. they were expected to take the next step last year, and they reverted. But Bradley Beal, being injured is significant.
And also they didn't have Marquis for for a lot of the season. And
I think I like the team a little bit. I have them making the playoffs this year.
It's one of those teams that it was like, what team was I talking about in the West? I think it was Portland, where it's like, if they play well together, they're dangerous because they have a lot of talent. I don't think they're as deep as Portland is and can shoot the balls well, but
I would disagree. I think
in comparison to the rest of the East, I think they're reasonably deep, can shoot the ball. They have a superstar. John Wall is a legit superstar. So I think that, people forget that shit changes. And I think that they're a team that could be the 4 seed. They could easily be the 4 seed. We said it before, like, 4 games between 2 and 7 or whatever it is.
I mean, it's important to note they could only be they could only be. I know they could be the 3 seed, right? Yeah, they could be. Someone's going to be a 3 seed from that division, right? Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, Washington, right?
Yeah. So they easily could be the 3 seed, and that's, they're a team that. What's that?
You have Cleveland in there?
What do you mean, Cleveland? No, Cleveland's in the Central. No, it's Washington, Orlando.
Atlanta, Washington, Miami, Charlotte, Orlando will have to be the 3 seed.
Correct.
No matter what.
And I think that they are as much. I think they're the best team in that division.
It's hilarious. If you look at that division and you look at the win totals from last year, it's 60, 46, 37, 33, and 25. It's going to be so close. No teams. I mean, 60 for Atlanta's. That's right. That was the year before. I clicked one too many. Jesus, this is a touchy mouse. I don't know who's going to win that division at all.
I have no idea either. And I mean, I'm
3 teams with 48 wins. The Wizards went 41, and Orlando went 35. Orlando is better. The Wizards played bad last year. Charlotte and Atlanta and Miami are the 3 teams that tied with 48 and 34 are the 3 teams in the East that all got worse: Miami, Atlanta, and Charlotte. Charlotte is not necessarily got worse. That's what I'm not as confident that they got worse, but it's hard to say they got better. Orlando got better, and Washington underperformed. So that division could be 1 through 5 by a game. Like, you have no idea. But whoever it is going to be the 3 seed, not the 4.
Correct. So I think that's. I felt like there was one other team. Well, we did talk a little bit about Orlando. I was really hoping in Orlando. I mean, they got a good coach in Vogel, but I was really hoping that they were going to stick with the team they had and hire David Blatt. That was what I wanted to see happen in Orlando, was give the guy a chance to coach a team and give him a bunch of young talent and see what happens. I really think that they've upturned the apple cart by getting rid of Oladipo, and you're going to just put a lot more pressure on guys who aren't used to. Like, I just don't know how Fournier is going to act now that he's literally the guy who's supposed to score.
Yeah, and Hezonja as well. I mean, it's a lot more pressure on him now.
If you've watched the preseason at all, Hezonja has not stepped up. He is not.
I don't like it. I didn't like him as a prospect. At least Exum is looking more and more like he knows how to play the game of basketball. I never felt the two of them were gonna.
I just don't know what. I really liked Orlando. I thought they had a lot of pieces that they could play with, but getting rid of your leading scorer and bringing back Ibaka and Jeff Green is just not. It just throws the team chemistry completely upside down. So I mean, they played without. Oladipo was hurt for decent stretches last year. I just don't know how this whole team kind of. Oh, you know what team? I'll give you. I think this is the last team we haven't talked about one bit. Denver.
That's where. Hey, I had that highlighted right now. I was like, hey, you realize we haven't talked about Denver at all? No, there's actually another team as well.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Denver.
I don't know why. Maybe you can explain this to me, but I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Denver and being really excited about Denver doing really well this year.
I think you might have just.
jumped
I
up a
think
little bit.
there was a night on Twitter the other night where Golden State was up by 50, and
Yeah.
they were talking about how great Golden State was. But that same night, Denver was up by 40. So there was a lot of talk. It was basically sarcastic talk about Denver. So
Okay, so
people
that's
were
what that was, because I missed something, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about Denver, and I'm like, well, they only added draft picks and a backup center to their team. Like, they didn't add anyone. They didn't lose anyone big either. I mean, DJ Augustin probably the most significant.
I'm with. I mean, I think a lot of people are big on. They have a similar problem to the Sixers, but not as bad. Which is like they have a glut of front court talent. I mean, it's a talented roster, kind of.
I just don't see it at the same level as everyone else, I guess. I mean,
It's just the pieces are there. I just feel like again.
what do you mean?
It's
Wait,
like
you
these
gotta explain
guys.
something, because I have that written down as a huge negative. What is their glut of front court talent?
Nurkic, Nokic, Fareed.
5 players that can play. I think they only have 3 players for those 2 positions, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess
I
got
negative though.
yeah. I guess having
Jokic
Daryl
and Nurkic
Arthur.
are never going to be able to both play 30 minutes in a game without getting into foul trouble. And the
Yeah,
only backup is Kenneth Fareed.
yeah. Well, the thing that they've been talking about Nurkic is he lost a bunch of weight and that he's going to be able to play. He's playing power forward now, so they're playing Jokic and Nurkic next to each other, and they are able to stay out of foul trouble. I know what you're saying, but if from a pure talent standpoint, and they have the other Hernan Gomez.
He's not a big. I don't believe. He's a small forward.
No, well. They have him listed as forward center, but he's 6'9".
Oh, okay.
So, no, they have listed.
He's not a forward center. He's a forward/forward.
Yeah. But again, I mean, Gallo and Ari was hurt for most of the year last year, or a lot of the year. They got Jamal Murray.
I guess I just don't. I mean, I don't think that they're like that at any of the players they don't have a top 5 player at any position. You could argue that they don't have a top 10 player at any position.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just think that it's I'll use that word again. Interesting.
I mean, it is one of the most interesting home field advantages playing in Denver. Right? You disappear? I think you did. You froze. I don't see you when I click on you. Oh well. Actually, just watching a 30 point game. Woo.